Hello everybody, welcome back to the LTA South. My name is Trajan. I am joined by RMC for day 1 of playoffs here in Split 3. RMC, you obviously are permanently in the studio when we cast you. You cast live from LTA South, as we can see from your background. So what's the atmosphere like in the arena? Because you're obviously in it.
Yeah, definitely not a green screen behind me, but obviously you can see the fans as well cheering. They're hyped, they're ready to go. And Trajan, don't say the forbidden words, playoffs. It's not playoffs. We don't want House to choke. It's the elimination.
He's not playing yet. Yeah, he never watches the other games, man. He's not watching.
True.
Okay.
But we are in the elimination phase, of course, here in Split 3, where we finished off the pick and play. And the new phase is kind of like the old phase a little bit in that the top teams are still picking opponents instead of the bottom teams, so that's a bit of a change. We're switching from best of 3s to best of 5s as well, so today we will get 5 games, hopefully, fingers crossed, a full Fearless. And what is the same though is the matchups we have this weekend, because today we've got Furia versus Cade. That happened last week, and tomorrow we have Red versus Pain, which also happened last week, and it's Red's fault kind of, because they picked Pain and that gave us the rematches.
Yeah, I mean, such is the nature. If you give the teams the control over their matchups, they will probably pick the one that they just won. Very convincingly as well in Red's case, you know, all credit to them. They completely stomped out Pain 2-0. So I guess they're just like, well, the way they phrased it even, it was like, well, we didn't think that was going to happen, but yeah, we're just taking the cards we're dealt, you know. They seem like an easy win, so we'll take another one, please. Thank you very much. Which does leave VKS back up against Furia. Now, it was 2-1 last time between these two teams, and I think it's fair to say that Furia, certainly we were, I think, very happy about how they ended last split with what they showed us at International. The progress is still very clear with this roster. They keep growing, the region keeps getting stronger, all of that good stuff. However, we're not necessarily at peak performance right now. It seems like there's a little bit of exposing going on with perhaps a team that was very mechanically skilled, normally very macro sound as well. Getting a little bit lax with some of the decisions, and Pain especially turned around and slapped them pretty hard in the mouth for it earlier on in the split.
Yeah, so we've got some stats from last week, the last time these two teams met between Furia and Cade. So just to give you sort of an overview of how it went, and as Trajan, you mentioned, it wasn't a sweep from Furia. It was 2-1. The kill score is actually surprisingly close, considering that it was a 2-1. Generally, you'd be expecting a ratio of 2-1 in terms of kills, which is close to what we see towers. Barons as well, it felt like just one Baron was what it took for each team to just kind of win the game. So it was a bit snowbally last week. Whichever team got that lead really knew how to slam it home. And coming into a best of 5 today, it gets even more worrisome because we saw at MSI that a lot of teams did struggle with their drops in game 5. So if we do get there, anything could happen. Cade especially, I think we've seen from Mateus and Miria before, massive champion pools. Trimby as well, another player who has a lot of enchanters in pocket. That is something that will come into play most likely if this series goes well. Now, another fun stat that wasn't on that, Trajan, is the fact that Cade and Furia have faced off 7 times this split. And out of those 7 times, Cade has only won 1 game. That's it. It was last week. So improvements. They are getting better. Maybe here at best of 5, they can win 2.
The ratio of wins rockets in recent times. So the graph is going way up.
Infinitely better last week than it was before that.
yeah, literally. So, and you know, this is as soon as we saw the Miria swap up between split 2 and 3, we were very happy with it. We were confident in it, and it has been a shot in the arm for VKS, who seemed like they were settling into the mid pack, kind of getting stuck in the mud a bit there. But Miri's explosive impact on the mid lane was very important for IE in the previous splits, and is now proving very, very important for VKS right now. It's a very tough lane to dominate in right now, but Miria has a lot of skill. He seems to have slotted into VKS very well. I was worried he might end up a bit of a lone ranger and disconnected, as some of our other mid carries have been, but I think it's going quite well, and they're able to play around him and win through him, which is really what you want to be able to do with a player like that. You don't want to leave him just getting killed in side lanes all game.
Yeah, and to be fair, I think for Cade, Mirio comes in replacing Kissy after Kissy had a very disconnected split. So worst comes to worst, it would have been just a mechanical upgrade in the mid lane, even if Mirio wasn't able to connect. But as you pointed out, Trajan, Mirio been stalling in, doing fantastically. In the last series up against Furia, Mirio also did very, very well, being a primary source of threat onto Furia's backline, making sure that IU couldn't play safe. The problem is, Furia doesn't only play through IU. Their big threats in the top lane, Gigo, formerly of Kate Stars from last year, is now coming back and biting his former team, being an absolute massive threat. And Bull has been struggling to contain him. Bans are coming through in Trajan. We are on patch 2516. Toronto got nerfed, Xinjiao got nerfed, J4 got nerfed. A lot of jungle nerfs, but no attention paid to Gigo from Kate Stars whatsoever.
Yeah, and we have some, some more stats prepared that we'll take a look at later in the series to dive into that a bit more, but you're absolutely right. I think leaving Gigo to do what he likes, there is kind of a two sides to that coin, whereas the guy will play Azir top if he thinks it's going to win the matchup. So is there value in banning Gigo out when he's just going to pick... You're not going to ban him out fully. You cannot get Gigo out of a pool. So maybe you just have to go, all right, it's going to be bad either way. Let him do what he wants, and we will just work around that. So there is an argument for both sides. The first pick, Yunara for Morteus, this has been a pretty impactful pick. We've seen even the main broadcast was leaning into how good IU was playing the Ayunara, as they called it, right? This champion has come on the scene in a pretty big way. There are some big flops and some big pop-offs, but Morteus is certainly looking very, very strong right now. So that's a great first pick for them. The Corki answer for IU as well. It's not a champion that excites me really, but IU has done good work on it in recent weeks.
Yeah, and I'm also kind of glad we're not just seeing the Kaisa counter come through, that I think has been largely what people have been playing into the Yunara. Like, sure, she can maybe win a trade, but I've seen too many Yunaras win out at just one or even two items against the Kaisa. So I think the Corki, which has been popping up a lot here in the LTA South and been popping up some huge numbers as well with some of those wins. I'm thinking back to CEO with the 8-0 and 11 win, I think it was just last week. And then Rebello was the other one who pulled up some like 14 or 15 kills in his game, and
he has the current most kills in a game is Rebella with 14 and 1, I think, on a Corki performance. So they're still doing work on this pick for sure. Now VKS have put a couple of workhorses in the mid jungle. Pantheon, Annie, a better enabling mid jungle duo you could rarely find. The CC setup is immaculate. It's point and click. It's very consistent. It's very repeatable. So Morteus is hopefully going to have some targets set up for him to knock down later on. But Furia is going to have to lock in some answers to try and lock this Yunara down, because that has been the biggest kind of counter to this pick. Hard CC, get them kind of pressurized, either burn the ult and run away, or make sure you can lock them down. And Tattoo, bring out the big guns. We're going straight to the Skarner special in game number 1. This is a pretty powerful pick for Tattoo, that's for sure.
Yeah, his most played last split, very, very comfortable on it. It's interesting too, because if we did see the Talia Vi come through, that's like kind of the old mid lane lockdown combo, whereas Annie Pantheon's a new sort of mid lane lockdown combo, but instead Furia are opting for team fighting, which does kind of diverge a little bit in terms of the game plan. For Cade, I think they recognize that if you get an early lead, both teams are really good at snowballing it, so they're focusing more on those lane leads with the Pantheon, with the Annie, with the single target lockdown. Furia with the Skarner and Talia now feel more like they're going for mid game, more for map control and team fighting ability, that utility that both of these picks kind of bring to the table. It does mean, though, that I suspect we're going to see Gigo with a more damage-oriented pick. He hovered the GP earlier. I wouldn't actually hate him picking it. It is one way to try and pop that Annie, that Yunara before they get in range. It just depends on the lane matchup and what Bull ends up picking, because he'll probably have to pick blind here.
Yeah, if you can, the GP is just the premium zone control champion from top lane, right? The barrels are so effective at controlling the space, and you want to lock Yunara all the way out, right? You want to keep Annie all the way out, as you say. It seems like they're stripping Bowl of safe options into potential Gigo classics. So the Rumble is no longer going to get countered by the Galio, and the Ornn means he cannot sit back and just become useful no matter how hard he gets blasted in lane. So they are really trying to, I think, unlock Gigo to be the main champion, the protagonist in this first game for Furia. That is a strategy that has paid dividends for them all split long, and all year long, to be honest, in the LTA South.
Yeah, and Rumble as well got a bit of an adjustment. In my opinion, a bit of a buff, really. They reduced his damage with Flame Spitter, but it does now have sort of a burning effect, so it's even better for sort of short trades. And his ultimate equalizer as well. Yeah, they've increased the tick counter, so it ticks more frequently,
Yeah.
which means you actually kind of get more burn because even when you're running off of it, right? Like if you can stay on longer, it applies a little bit quicker. So yeah, I wouldn't
There
be
you go.
surprised as you're called
Yeah.
with the Galio ban. It just feels like it's very telegraphed Rumble pick.
Mhm.
Now Bo does get counter pick, and Trajan, I remember on the podcast this week you were talking about how you want to see Bo on a carry, you want to see him be able to pop off because you think he might be the key to unlock this series. And now with the counter pick, with a Pantheon in pocket to set you up. I'm kind of in agreement with you. I'd love to see Bull find some sort of carry that could shut this Rumble down. Those
Let's
are
just let them pick
carries.
something there. Let's just let them lock something in, I suppose. But no, so I love it's a very glass half full, as it is not that, you know, it's real Scion, it's beefy frontline, but it's a very glass half full way of presenting my feelings on both from the podcast, and I respect that, RMC. It's very much this season falls down around VKS's ears at the hands of Bowl if they can't keep him alive. If he cannot manage Gigo to some degree better than he has been managing him through this split, it's going to be disaster, right? If he can, great. We know that Miryu can stand up. We're really getting a sense that Morteus can actually stand up into Ayu now as of this split. So the other carries are there, but you've got to keep the map from just crumbling from the top down.
Yeah, and it just for Cade, when I'm looking at the Scion, sure, you've got a lot of CC you can look to try and set up. But I just don't know, if it's really kind of worth it. Scion, I think he did get a bit of a buff this patch as well, but it was towards the AD side of it, so it's just kind of neutral, net neutral on that top side. Rel took another bit of a hit. Her shield's a bit weaker for Cade stars. I don't think it's that significant. I think they're fine. And I think all in all,
Yeah.
Cade, it's kind of a really solid team comp, but I am looking at Desamis and Miryu to really pop off and carry. I'm not seeing them get a lead in that mid jungle lane. I just don't have that much confidence in them. Whereas I look over at what Furia have drafted for themselves, and the Corki carry is really solid. We've seen Talia be able to scale up very comfortably as well. It feels like they've got a lot more options in the team fight side of things as well, so I'm less concerned about how their laning phase goes. As long as they're equal, they're fine. What I do want to see from them, though, is still Tatu and Tuts, but for different reasons. They don't need to get ahead, but I do want to see them going to the side lanes and helping Gigo, helping Ayu to pop off. When you've got a Talia, you have so much map control, and unfortunately for Tuts, I'm a little bit concerned he might not be able to match hands in just sort of a 1v1 situation. Last week, it didn't look like he was able to really pop off that way. So if you can't win your lane, that's fine. It's a team game. Just help out the other lanes instead.
Yeah, and he's got the Talia, right? He's got the global ult. He's got the easy CC setup to follow up his team, creating opportunities that he can drop a seismic shove in a minefield. Again, zoning potential to keep the Yunara from popping off fully. So I think this is a good choice for Tuts just to kind of settle into this series and see what the dynamic is going to be in that mid lane. And I think something else to quickly just talk about from the graphics that we showed up before, where we were talking about, it's VKS got a surprising number of kills. It wasn't down 2-1 despite the score. The Barons were more similar. The Dragons were 8-2 in favor of Furia. Again, vastly more Furia favor, despite the 2-1 score, despite the stompy nature of all three of those games. So that is a little bit unusual for Furia. Normally, they are a Grubs focused, a top lane focused team. They play through Gigo's dominance in the lane averagely, but in the match against VKS last time, they were actually controlling the bot side river a lot more as well. Both sides, the objectives were very focused for Furia. So that is a little out of sorts for me, especially with an Pantheon Annie in mid lane. We've got to be picking up some early dragons for VKS. Surely we can control that early stage of the objectives.
And to be fair, we didn't really see the Pantheon Annie last time, so maybe that's why they're doing it this time.
Yeah, in this game, I'm looking for the turnaround,
They agree their analysis, I suppose. The other thing to keep in mind, too, is sort of the lane swaps we do see coming through, because I do very much agree with your point that Gigo often is winning that lane and getting the pressure. Ayu and Morteus, Morteus, Trimby, Ayu, Jojo are a lot more evenly matched, so I wonder how many of those dragons also comes from the fact that with the lane swaps we're seeing, a lot of times they're coming through at about, the 5-6 minute mark for a lot of these teams, and that's roughly when teams might start looking for that first Drake. And maybe what we're kind of seeing is that Furia is getting those Drakes because Gigo's actually on the bot side of the map, and he's getting the pressure, which kind of gives them an advantage.
We're still playing through Gigo. He's just over there now. They have backstep for the jungle here, so Ayu and Jojo are not going to be any trouble there. I think Corki and Rakan, it does seem like it's going to be probably quite difficult for Trimby to get his hands on either of them. They've got decent escape tools, decent mobility to offer there, so we'll see how much this 2v2 can achieve for Morteus and Trimby. Traditionally, the VKS 2v2 was not the strongest area. It's certainly been improving, and Morteus, when you get him to mid and late game, no worries whatsoever. But Ayu and Jojo are definitely a fearsome lane combination, so we'll see if VKS can do anything about that, if Desamus is going to put his time down there, invest in the Morteus carry element, or if it is just going to be a, hope you guys get on fine, we'll see you in the mid game, and please carry late.
We're already seeing sort of the junglers being desynced as well. So Desamus starting on that top side will find himself in a pretty good position to gank that bot lane. Ayu and Jojo also already pressuring up, and I expect that to continue. Corki, a lot easier shove than Yunara early on. Yunara really starts to spike when she gets her first item, whether it be Kraken Slayer, Blade of the Ruined King, or the less common Yuntel Wild Arrows, which I have seen come through. That's less for the 1v1, 2v2, and more for sort of the team fight build. But Tatu won't be in the area, because Tatu starting bot side, he's clearing top, and it feels like he wants to play for Gigo once again. And Tatu and Gigo, they're sort of a funny duo, and I feel like they built a lot of synergy together. I still remember early on in Split 1, that flash that Tatu kind of did over the wall with Sejuani behind enemy turret, got him and Gigo killed. That was Gigo kind of egging him on, saying, okay, make your name known, Tatu, make these plays. If you mess up, people will still remember your name, but if you succeed, think of the upside, right? And it does feel like that's really been taken to heart, and Tatu does love to sort of gank that top lane, for better or for worse. Usually for better, to be fair.
Yeah, and that's the kind of energy that if you've got the skills, the mechanics, as we know Furia do, they love to push the advantage, they love to close out games quickly, to flex on their opponents a little bit, even if it does get them into trouble a few times in the early stages, we can say. That is the kind of influence that I worry is maybe what's getting them into trouble later in the game now as well. As the other teams are scaling up, they're settling in their roster changes, they're getting an idea of how to deal with this new top dog in Furia. So we'll see how this goes against VKS, who have gotten their first win against Furia of the year as of last time they fought each other. They've got this new change in the mid lane, and we know that they certainly have a strong minds behind the team. But here they come, RMC. Here is the scheduled top gank.
Okay, Tatu not going to flash this time for it, but here we go.
Yeah, onto a Scion, easy flash away, and Bowl deftly and gracefully avoids it. And thankfully, Furia also gracefully back away once it's gone wrong. Now, on the bot side, though, this could get a bit hairier. Desamus round the back with a stun into Trimby. Jojo will flash, will W, low on HP. There's a heal there to keep him alive, but now Ayu's a little bit in the lurch. W's doesn't have to use his summoners, and Furia, too, will escape the gank.
I love the dichotomy that we just saw on the top and bot side of the map. The top side looked like a choreographed, synchronized dance. Right, yes. The flash comes through, both like it perfectly flashes, sorry, to stop the external impact from coming through from Tatu, and it looks beautiful. On the bot side, a lot messier, but Ayu and Jojo have no fear. Even when Jojo's getting run down, I love the fact that Ayu actually steps up, trades with Morteus, walks back, bulks, and actually pumps out almost as much damage. So Furia, in a 2v3 situation, end up matching sort of the damage ratios. Tatu, we get to see him, he's still hovering in this top side. He really wanted to make something happen, I guess, and Bowl is low enough that I can see it being very, very tasty.
He did catch a glimpse of him there, I believe, on the way back. Still, no Tatu at least is not in the area currently, but of course that deep ward you can see on the left side of your screen does catch Desamus as well. So everyone is spotted for both jungle sides. And from bot lane at least, Morteus and Trimby have got the lane push right now. No sums left for Jojo, just the flash burn for Trimby, so a small advantage to play for. As we see an aggressive move by the Rel, actually gets that W back to safety from Ayu, but Trimby now in a bad spot, has to burn the heal now. And a questionable decision as Tatu in the area. VKS need to be aware of this.
Yeah, Katesers have blown a lot of mana away from Ayu and Jojo right now. So it does feel like I think Morteus and Trimby are just trying to shove that out to get that recall off in safety. Just burning all their mana before they do so. Now junglers kind of hovering in the mid, but it's Desamus pulling the trigger first.
Here it comes, the point and click stuns onto Tuts. He does have a jungle nearby, but he flashes late and the first blood picked up. Tatu cannot do a thing. Level 6 ticks over for the Annie, drops the hammer, and that's the first blood.
Yeah, they might have nerfed Annie's ultimate. Tibbers is no longer sort of the big pop it used to be, but her level 6 is still disgusting, and Disintegrate on her Q, that's a point and click. Like, Tuts' flash is all for nothing. Really well played from Miru from Katestar, just knowing their experience advantages and really leveling off of that. Tuts just needed one more minion, and then he gets 6, but instead, Tatu's in the area, it doesn't matter. Miru just pulls the trigger first off that level 6, and it's a CC lockdown. It's disgusting.
Yeah, and even if he gets level 6, he's got a Weaver's Wall, but that doesn't get him out of there, you know? You can feel like he's reaching for it in that mid-wave, but sadly, reaches just a tad too far, gives that kill away. So that lane gonna keep putting him in trouble as well. Plus, he's now flashless, so you can see Trimby's here. The Samus is gonna have ult soon, and Miryu is gonna keep having those stuns ready to go.
Yeah, 6.5 minutes. We're seeing the lanes already swapped here with Ayu moving first. Jojo just trying to cover around Tuts. I think trying to make sure that nothing else happens to get Tuts shoved back and having to force another recall through. And interestingly enough, with sort of all the lane shenanigans that are happening, Trajan, Furia, you talked about their Dragon dominance. It feels like they're going to go for it once again, but it's not off Gigo's pressure. Well, partially off Gigo's pressure. It's also the commitment from Jojo to go down there and leave Ayu in a 1v2 situation, trusting that his Corki's mobile enough to not die.
Yeah, we've got all the vision placed down for Furia, so they at least have an idea of what's going on in that Dragon Pit, but they're backing away for now. Gigo, of course, with Eternal priority as expected in that matchup. So we'll have to wait and see who wants to fully commit to it. But it is, I suppose, as you'd hypothesize there, RMC, that the reason they've got a lot of dragons now is just because they keep putting Gigo over there, and the strategy hasn't changed. They've just inverted it.
Yeah, and if that's going to be the case, then I think K needs to answer back by trying, kind of getting the Grubs advantage. That's why you've rotated these members up here. You're feeling comfortable in that 2v2. You've got the mid lane prio, like you were talking about, from Miryu, so you should be very, very comfortable going for that topside objective. Bull trading with Gigo, but the items just don't feel the same. Haunting Guys is just such a stat efficient item. That's why they capped it at only 1. Before that, a couple of patches ago, you were seeing a lot of mages build 2 Haunting Guys instead of completing that Liandry's or Riftmaker, just because of how stat efficient it was. And right now, Bo, you can see, just has no answer. I wouldn't be surprised if we see the Unstoppable Onslaught being used to escape from Bo if he sits in lane for another minute or 2.
Now we have Tattoo on vision up there, not currently, but has been spotted. The Samus is ready and waiting. Miryu tending upwards as well. Tuts now does have the Weaver's Wall to try and disrupt, but Furia, are we just going to start it up and force the 4v4? This is potentially bold. Gigo is on his way up here, but doesn't have TP. He's going to have to get there. Furia trying to peel away. They're actually looking for Miryu, aggressively trying to make a move onto the Annie. The equalizer isn't great, and Bowl's around the corner. The flashes are being burnt. The Scion ultimate, and Rumble desperately trying to get the job done. It's close, but it's not enough. This Samus caught on the other side of the fight. Tuts now reassigning into this play in the jungle. Trimby now, can he get back to the safety? The double for Tattoo. Somehow it's a 2v1 Furia. Win on one side.
And with all said and done, Fury catch up and kills. The 2-for-1 makes it a 2-for-2, and they get full control over Void Grubs. Trajan, we were just talking pregame about how Fury, they've had the hands, but the micro has been oddly slipping from them. This reminds me of old school Fury, what we're seeing a lot in Split 2 when Fury became the champions. It's how they set this up, and the fight looks very split, but the big difference maker is the fact that Tuts has Weaver's Wall and can rejoin the team and can section off the fights very quickly. So Fury are more than happy to split the fight. Yes, Gigo ends up going down because Mirror is so strong, but right here, that Weaver's Wall, what should have been a 1-for-1, and then sort of an equal match after, becomes a 1-for-1 and then a 4v2 because Miryu's kind of low, can't walk in there, and Bo gets sectioned off. So Furia, they play the odds, they make sure they've got the setup and that they've got the better advantages on these plays, and because of that, they get the extra kill, they get the Void Grubs, and now Dragon is on the table. Kate Stars there looking to set up vision, but not confident in being able to start that up. Not with Tuts in the top side, with teleport available, not when Furia can overload with numbers.
Great start by the Panthers right now. Gold still basically even, but the Grubs to their name, and they do have now the both bot and top side, the strongest lanes for Furia, both around this Dragon, and Tuts is clearing waves against Bolt. The task needs to be done, someone's got to do it, and Talia is the perfect candidate, still trying to work on that first item. As, to be honest, Furia getting pretty close with some of their carries, and they might have a nice little boost coming into these next few fights. But we'll see what their focus is going to be. Of course, the Tattoo Skarner never fails to deliver. 2-0 right now. And will be very, very tanky as there he goes. The first to hit that first item completion, at least on the Furia side.
And especially with an item like Heartsteel, the sooner you can get that, the better it is for you. Then you want to get into those fights. They start stacking the Heartsteel as fast as you can. So Furia, very happy with this. And I wouldn't be surprised if now that, Tattoo's picked that up, they've also regained control of the vision around the Dragon. If Furia start posturing very aggressively for that, to not just get Dragon, but actually beta fight.
Actually, yeah, IU trying to trade aggressively. That is into a Kraken Slayer Morteus, mind you, because he's got no tier, no boots, no Doran's item. He's completely invested in getting this first item completed. So Yarnar, a bit of a threat. Flash actually burnt by Tuts in the top side. Bull catch him unawares with the ultimate. No damage dealt, but obviously an important summoner stripped away.
Yeah, and right now I think I'd take the sort of unstoppable onslaught being burnt over the flash, because flash would keep Tuts safe. But without the unstoppable onslaught, Bull's teamfight impact's very, very low, and I think that's why Furia feels so comfortable just going straight for this dragon. It gets reset as they wanted to find Bull. Like we said, they want those kills. Not quite able to nail down that very slippery Rel and Cade Stars. They know Dragon's going to be done because they've lost Pry over that, but there's nothing they can do, and they don't want to take a look at that.
Yeah, they just don't have a good way in. They're not going to stick around and burn it through quickly. They're going to let Tatu take it down at a leisurely pace as VKS instead forging a path into the topside jungle, maybe looking to clear some vision, maybe catch a sleeping Tuts, but he is out of there. He is in front of his second tower right now. He knows what's up. Or does he? He forgot what's up. He steps up, gets double stunned, ulted, and now Jojo is here. Can he actually keep his mid laner alive? The quickness gets the double charm. Just about, but the Comet Spear nails Tuts to the wall, and Desamus walks away with the kill.
Oh man, that last fadeaway spear from the Desamus too, as they were walking off. And Tuts, unfortunately, we thought he was, very aware that he was flashless. And it's a very heads-up play from Cade Stars. Cade Stars knowing we can't get the dragon. Well, make the cross-map play. And they weren't really set up for it initially because they did want the dragon before Trimby got caught out a little bit. But I love the adaptation, and it's on Furia to recognize that hey, the play is going to be delayed. And ironically, I think because Cade wasn't set up, that's what cost Tuts his life. Tuts thought the play was coming through a couple of seconds beforehand. Was like kind of gauging the timing. I was like, oh, they're not here? I'm probably safe. Now Tuts, does he know? He gets caught again.
Oh, another ult. Half his HP disappears. In comes the ultimate as well. And they are piling on to the Furia mid laner. 3 deaths, 1 assist for Tuts right now. Struggled the last time these teams clashed. And again, is just being quite put upon today. It's approaching cyberbullying levels at this point.
You know what? It's legal. It's fine. It's part of the game. It's not a bug. It's as intended. And Cade Stars really kind of pushing the strength of the mid-jungle duo we were talking about. We said we wanted to see Desamus and Miryu pop off together, and they did just that. I love that coordination. The fact that as soon as Tuts gets back into lane, just drop Tibbers. They use the Grand Starfall, punish him, set him further behind, and now Miryu is becoming a huge threat with the Malignance as well. The cooldown on that ultimate is going to be fairly short, and for Furia, how do you play around this, right? Do you give resources to Tuts, or do you... I personally would just like to see them use Tuts as a utility bot at this point. Use him for wave clear and use him for reverse wall. If you drop a turret, no big deal. It just opens up the map. And the replay, there's really not much to analyze. It's just such a hits-up play from Cade Stars. The fact that Tuts even gets this close to getting away, I think is the disgusting part. But that fadeaway spear, max range too. And yeah, I was going to say, they're probably going to chain it right into this one. Because it's just that easy. And Tuts drops the ward. It doesn't matter. If you're in range to ward, you're in range for Tibbers.
It is unfortunate for Tuts that the last 2 bushes he warded already had gank squads in them, and he dies both times. He's got to feel, I know this ward is dangerous, but he's just a little behind the curve. And the VKS fans are loving to see that mid-jungle duo powering up right now. But, as we saw in the last time around, once one team got a real lead, they did not lose it last time around. Now, VKS has just hit 1,000 right now. That's a pretty significant lead for this point in the game, all things considered. So will they be able to keep the momentum rolling? Or can Furia fight back? Tuts does not land the seismic shove, as this time, Tatu's the one posted up in a deep rush.
But I'm seeing Trimby, I'm seeing Desamus nearby for Miryu, and sure, Jojo's there as well. I just don't know if Furia have the damage to deal with Miryu.
They can catch Miryu before the Herald starts, but Annie's going to step down there. Tatu will now be spotted. But Miryu has linked up with the team. IU still closer to mid lane than Herald and is thinking about it. Beyond vision right now. Furia not in the best position. Tatu takes the burst from the ultimate, steps away without too much damage done. He is pretty tanky already. The Herald surely to be VKS's. Secured by the Desamus. Another stun onto Jojo. He's got a battle dance away, and Tippers will be the only casualty for VKS here.
Okay, Miryu did expend the flash to kind of get that harassment onto Jojo, the threaten of the engage, but the rest of Cade Stars don't want to follow. Now onto the bot side, Force of Nature completed from Bull, and the magic resistance is good right now.
Equalizer dropped. Gigo trying to use it to get away. Has to flash, and credit to Bull right here. Catches Gigo a little too overconfident down there.
Okay, and Desamas?
Oh, Desamas though. Desamas doesn't want to let him get away with that one. Killing spree for Pantheon. No mercy for the Furia top side. And now we're starting to roll for BKS. 1k has almost turned into 2k in about a minute.
Yeah, and I'm loving Desamas on this Pantheon right now. He's so comfortable and confident on it. And the use of his Grand Starfall as well. Even the camera actually failed to catch the channel because of the timing of it. We weren't expecting Desamas to get down there. All we saw was this little pet chasing him across the map, trying to match the speed of that Grand Starfall. But Desamas now 3-1-1, and he's not even where the gold lead is sitting for K-Stars. The bulk of it's sitting on Miryu. And when you funneled all that gold into one champion, that's probably the most efficient way to get a gold lead. So that 1k usually gets split up across multiple members, but now that 1.7k is mostly sitting on Miryu, you're really strong in team fights. And Furia normally wants a team fight, now they're scared to do it. But if you're split, then Desamas gets used that Grand Starfall, which is used to fantastic effect already. So K-Stars in a winning position, pretty much any way they want to cut it. It's on Furia to kind of flip the script. They need to get their composition online. You've got a Rumble, you've got Equalizer, you want a team fight, and I do feel like they need to set up a team fight on their terms. They need to be the one to get the pick instead of Miryu finding Tibbers.
Herald crashing into mid lane. It's damage, but no more so far. Tattoo seeing what he can get. Tuts fishing for a Weaver's Wall. Can't find the seismic shove as it goes Trimby. Bowls on the flight. The Magnet Storm is big, but Tattoo with a big counter ult, but the Trimby goes down first. Here comes Miryu though. All of the gold pumped into this alley, and the ult is massive. Mid, top, jungle, they're all suffering for Furia. They try to escape back to the turret, and it'll just be 2 losses. But as soon as Miryu arrive, how the tone changes in that team fight.
Yeah, everything's good till Tibbers drops, right? Furia looked fantastic. The 3-man impale with Ayu just pumping out the damage. In fact, still looking to pump out the damage. Can they find Bull? He's kind of...
That was interesting. Vulnerable. He seemed to sort of teleport half a Flash's distance forward on that screen right now. A little confusing, but probably just an observer bug, as it seems like Ayu was almost daring Miryu to try and stun him, right? He has flashing cleanse. He's like, go, step too far forward, try and go for it. And Miryu does not fully take the bait, but again, Furia, they actually do try and find a play, but it doesn't go great for them to kick it off.
And at first I was worried that K-Stars kind of overstepped with the wall still up. The 3-man impale comes down. But as you pointed out, when Miryu arrives, Miryu wasn't there initially. Didn't get hit by any of the CC. And the moment Tibbers dropped, we talked about that concentrated gold, and you're seeing that the strength of it. Now, it being on Annie does make it kind of binary. Like, when Tibbers is up, massive threat. When Tibbers is down, that's when Furia can look for the re-engage. And I think that's why IU was playing so aggressively with Tatu, with Jojo there, because they knew that, hey, if we can kind of, you know, get anybody, isolate them, even Bull right now, they're not really spec'd towards dealing with Ayu. If Ayu can get the time, he can shoot through anybody on K-Star's side. You just got to make sure he doesn't get popped down, and if Miryu doesn't have Tibbers, then they might not actually have enough damage to cut down this Corki right from the get-go.
Yeah, I mean, from the mission statement that VKS have in this draft, with this strong playmaking mid-jungle, scaling in top and bot lane, you look at the scoreboard, it's going exactly to plan. The mid and jungle is massively impactful. The top lane has not died, has in fact gone slightly gracefully down over a Gigo that has been punished. Yunara is basically even in gold and will happily scale up, has hit 2 items now. Can't wait for the 3rd. This is exactly what BKS want to happen. And Furia, they're going to have to now try and break this cycle. They need to try and break BKS out of the game plan that has gone more or less flawlessly at this point.
Now, for Furia, the good news is they're about to hit a power spike of their own. Seraph's Embrace is completed for Tuts. Ayu's going to complete his Mirror Mana soon. And that is a big infusion of power for a team that has been lacking damage. The bad part for Furia is, while those two are spiking, Gigo, okay, there we go. Gigo completes sec items. He should be good for fight. I was going to say is actually a little bit behind the curve. Tatu is also behind the curve, because we love that he picked up Heartsteel first. He was the first mythic on the map, first completed item on the map. But he's only got 20 extra health from it right now. The stacking is not going very well. So Tatu is starting to fall behind the curve a little bit. And yes, he's kind of tanky, but I don't think he's tanky enough to survive the burst from Miryu and Desamas, much less the Kraken Slayer Hurricane that Morteus has already completed.
And that's the feat of turret destruction completed, locking up the triumphant boots for VKS as well, so a little bit more power they can build. An ult dropped onto Miryu. Can it get Tatu in range? Trimby's there to drop the stun. Jojo following up. They get the anti-flash, but now can they get away with this one? Ayu's around the corner. W's aggressively to get in the range of Bola, and Jojo tries to escape. Tatu as well, but a lovely knockup from Sion into the ultimate, and Gi goes down for the 4th time in game 1.
And for all the map power that Furia should have with the Weaver's Wall, it's just being answered by Desamis every single time, and Cade is getting there first with bigger numbers, and with that pickup, with that extra kill that they've got, they're feeling confident to start up the Atakan. Furia, no flash on Tatu, so he's got to walk this one if he wants to smite steal it. Vision being denied away, it's blind again.
Very tough 4v5 ask for them right now. It's likely going to have to be the steal. Ayu needs to do some miracles. Miryu pretty low. VKS suffering a little bit. The 4v5 looking a little bit playable. Bolas the flash, but Atakan has been smited. Desamis has done the job, and now they just need to get out. Gigo TPing in, but surely will be 10 miles behind where he needs to be. Tuts and Ayu searching for it. Bowl looking for a catch, but vision dropped on his head. Means they step away from it. Furia, they can't find the kills, and VKS get the Atakan.
Trajan, I feel like it's so rare that we see a single Cloud Drake be incredibly impactful, but we just saw that as the passive movement speed allowed Cade to just completely disengage. Miryu's got a massive bounty, was able to walk away, and with Malignance, that's the second time we're seeing Tibbers kind of drop within this engagement. That's how long this has run. So Cade, yeah, they're growing their lead. As you said, everything going according to plan. Furia picking up scraps, looking for, these little objectives they can get. No objective bounty either means that Furia's gold gap is not going to close that much. Just a 500 sort of closure. And with their outer turret still standing, them being set up, Cade are going to bounce back really, really hard after this buy.
Yeah, we did see at least a demonstration that Furia can still deal damage without Gigo on the map. Ayu and Tuts, of course, with the repeatable Q stacking, can do a lot of work right there. And they pushed VKS back to the point where they were fleeing the pit. And we have a dragon in 30 seconds, so we know Furia have damage to leverage. However, whether Miryu has Tibbers on lock, whether he's got the important summoners, is actually Tatu and Gigo have caught him slipping in topside. Critical kill on the Annie just before the dragon spawns.
Okay, and with the 40-second death timer as well, even if Miryu does have teleport, which he does, he won't be able to get there when the dragon spawns. Problem for Furia is they can't get there either. Gigo has to walk it. Desamis with the stun onto Tuts, but Tuts should be safe for now. Please don't walk back up, Tuts. You've seen the song and dance before.
Yeah, you know what's waiting for you down there. Trades the ult to get away from danger right there, which is fair enough. They still have a 4v5 they can play, but only for 17 seconds. Miryu's got the TP. If Furia don't move quickly, they're just going to have a repeat of what happened in mid lane, where the Annie arrives late, but turns the whole situation around.
Well, Trajan, they can't. They don't have a 5v4 situation. Gigo cancelled his back, and now he's getting picked off topside.
Yeah, Desamis instead opts for the free kill. The single Mountain Drake was not considered that important, and to be honest, seems like a reasonable decision. It will be the second dragon for Furia. It's still a long way away from a potential soul. A Mountain Soul would be lovely into Pantheon Annie, but it's going to be a long time coming if they want to get it.
Yeah, that's a tough mountain to climb to get that particular soul right now for Furia. That's at least another 10 minutes to come through from them. And for Cade Stars, the pick onto Gigo is good as well, because now it gives them full control on this top side. Desamis is still hovering up there. I'd love to see them get some vision down. And just as Baron spawns, Gigo will be back up. He'll be back on the map. But Furia will be walking into Fog of War completely blind at that point. And Cade has been masterful with the catches.
Stunned by Desamis. Deep on the tower, it must be said. Eats some shots, and all around the corner is waiting to see if anyone steps up out of vision. Tatu's going to skate over the wall. Keep his camps coming in as the mid lane turret for Furia stands strong for now. Now, they have managed to cap this gold lead at about 2.5 to 3k for quite a while, which is, they've avoided getting snowballed out, and they're still fishing for targets. They've actually found Bol, who is incredibly tanky, of course, and is ulting into the enemy jungle. So this is going to be a time-wasting exercise. For Bol. Does have the TP, is going to try and get himself out of there, but Furia can't get him. A flash W from Jojo, just a hair's breadth too late.
The getaway car is good from Bol. And Trajan, you called it a glass half full sort of situation when I was talking about how you're looking at Bol as a key part for Cade, but he's kind of doing his job even on this Sion. It's not about the carry.
Yes. Like
you said, it's kind of just about time wasting. It's about skilling up. It's about nullifying a lot of Furia's advantages. And he did right there. Cade, with that really odd mid lane turret dive, which I don't fully understand, actually ceded control of Baron over to Furia. Furia were able to get in there. They should have been able to get vision and get control. But because they went chasing Bull, they get one measly control ward in there and one vision ward outside. And that's it. And Cade, they're able to reset, leverage their strength again, get back in there, clear that out, and now Baron becomes neutral ground once again for Cade. Not ideal, but that's all they really need to start, and then they can go fishing with that neutral territory. They've been so masterful at playing the side lanes as well, and really allowing Desamas to get that pressure, get that pick potential, and Baron is not something Fury can easily sneak away at this point in the game.
Tatu trying to keep an eye on what's going on in the river. A vision war going on for this Baron pit. Still a while on the Dragon, and both teams now have been able to find individual wins over the last few minutes, but VKS certainly still the more confident of the two. Back 3k ahead. They've got all 5 converging around this mid lane turret. They are finally losing patience with it, and they're going to try and take it down. But in fact, it's a Weaver's Wall. It's an Impale, and Bowl has taken more and more damage. Now the Scion can probably walk this out, but once again, the Cade Stars are rebuffed.
Yeah, and Bowl with the Unstoppable Onslaught could potentially just charge straight down mid from base, so just going to recall is fine. It's okay. It's what else can Furia find? And they did burn a key ultimate, 2 key ultimates actually, to make that play happen. Impale is gone and Tatu's caught again.
This is a lot less tanky, but they've got a lovely counter onto Trimby. Desamas following up onto the Skarner, but Miryu's caught Gigo trying to burn them down. A flash keeps him alive, and Morteus is frying on Yunara. Flashes in for 1, grabs a second, double for Desamas as well. Ults in for 3, a cleanse by Eye. Could it get him away? No, it can't. VKS, ace 4-0.
You know, Trajan, I had questions about the turret dive mid that we initially saw from Cade, like, what was it, 3-4 minutes ago? I now see what they were trying to do, and it looks really good when they get it done. Yeah. They're just going to shove into the base, take down the inhibitor. I don't think they can they close? Surely not.
20 seconds, 10 seconds on Tatu, less on Jojo. They don't have the fattest wave, but they're going for it. Now, Morteus does not have the ultimate again. He's going to slow him down a bit, but it's not going to slow him down enough. Trimby will fall. Tatu's coming off, but he's going to be stopped up by VKS. And they will close out a quick win. It looked like they were starting to slow down for a bit, but they ramp right back up. What a mid lane play. And they push from the mid-outer to the Nexus.
I'm in shock, Trajan. Just one quick play and just straight in. Instantly finished off. Beautiful from Cade. Very, very decisive. And you know, it does play into what we were talking about last week, where whichever team got the lead, they're very quick, very decisive to close games out. And it seems to be the case again. And for Furia, you know, they looked a little bit lost, to be honest. Gigo had a great 1v1 start, but it just felt like after the laning phase, he didn't know what to do. Tut's getting shut down early. He just never could bounce back. And it felt like the one hope for Furia was their bot lane for Ayu. But even then, one guy, he can't 1v5. That's not what AD carries do in this current meta.
Yep, that's not what it's for, you know. He didn't really have much to do in this game. It was a perfectly serviceable, Corki performance, but nothing you can do about that one, buddy. There's no recourse for him in that one. But the active mid-jungle, the super decisive playmaking mid-jungle was how they played it through. Miryu and Desamas played it very, very well, especially Miryu. And that has just been, it seems like the VKS transformation is continuing and it is remaining consistent. They have a strategy that works. They can play through Miryu. Bowl was able to gracefully lose, and Morteus is ready to pick up the slack once he's out of the lane, once the kind of the arena has been built for him, nice and cozy, nice and built for him. He goes crazy instantly. Then he can go crazy in the Yunara, and the game ends straight away. So, love that. Love the formula for VKS. It's looking pretty strong. The only question now is, can we do it 3 times in Fearless? That's the one thing, because we don't have Panthy anymore. Panthy's gone. We don't have Yunara anymore. We don't have Scion for Bowl, you know, and they were already banning away some of Bowl's other kind of defensive picks. When does he have to just go, I kind of have to take Jax and try and win now, and maybe it doesn't go so hot, you know? So that was my worry on the podcast, was when it's Game 5, Furia 2, VKS 2, what's Bowl picking, you know? What's Desamas picking? Can they still have that same impact after the Fearless pool has been stripped away? Furia's got picks for days. They always have. They always will. Can VKS do the same?
Fair enough. You know, I believe in Cade that they have options, but I do share concerns for Bowl's pool, especially since we saw the Ornn, the Galio kind of banned out. That means that Furia has done their prep, and they knew what they were going to be running into. They knew Bowl was probably just going to pick tanks. Now, Galio is not as useful now that Rumble's gone. Sure, Gwen is still a pick, but she doesn't care about Galio as much. She will happily play into that and just outskill anyways. So topside's going to be an issue. And for Desamis, the Pantheon Annie giving that over did feel a little bit dangerous. Both very, very strong. It's like the better, easier to execute version of Talia Vi. But yeah, now Talia's kind of gone too. I would expect Tatu to maybe prioritize that Vi a little bit just to take it away from Desamis. And yeah, it does come down to the full Fearless sort of thing. But that's why we love Fearless, Trajan. You can't just rinse and repeat, go back to it. It is a test of skill. And if it goes to 5 games, Trajan, if it does come to that ultimate question of what does Kate have in a game 5, I'm down for it because I just want to see a game 5 to start the elimination phase here in the LTA South.
Absolutely, we'd want nothing less, and we expect nothing less from LTA South, to be honest, but we're going to go to a quick break for now. We'll be back in just a few minutes. We'll run some ads to kill off those pre-rolls, and we'll be back for game number 2 before you know it. We'll see you there. Welcome back, everybody, for game number 2. VKS with a 28-minute victory over Furia. And again, once they had the lead, they just were not interested in letting it go. RMC. Stunning mid-jungle performance from Miryu and Desamis. And no one else was really slouching either. Great start for them.
Yeah, literally stunning with the chain CCs coming through. And anybody who kind of walked into range of Miryu right there, Trajan. But what I kind of do want to talk about is how that game kind of went, because we got to see the post-game scores, the post-game stats a little bit, and the damage spread is kind of rough. As you can see, Tuts is basically non-existent for the side of Furia. Meanwhile, Gigo is pumping out a lot of damage, but double what Bull is putting out. But you look at what champions are on, and it just kind of seems to not matter. Like that, those damage numbers feel really fake. Now, Trajan, if we look at how these teams faced off last week as well, we've got their damage charts out, and in a way, it does kind of match as well when we look at how it played out last week. But Furia was still able to win in those. So, if anything, it feels like okay, Furia and Cade are still playing the game plan, just not quite working out for Furia. They're still doing the damage, but they're not getting the rewards from their damage.
Yeah, and it really does feel like that game. I mean, it started to go wrong in the mid lane for Furia, and then it kept going wrong for Tuts in other lanes that he was in. Yep, and it just felt like that mid-jungle duo was so powerful for VKS that they knew how to push it, and Furia were not interested in disengaging from it. They were still trying to fish for plays, they were trying to find catches, they were trying to start team fights. And once Miryu shows up, it all goes wrong, you know? So perhaps a bit of overzealousness with Furia, and they were able to, like, you know, push them off of Dragon and get some work done despite having started to lose mid lane pressure, but eventually it just became too much to get around. And Furia, we were wondering what the decision was going to be now for Tuts. You've lost your Talia, you've lost your disengage pick. He's had to go for something that can contest. He's gone for the Aurora.
And the interesting thing about Aurora is it might not be Tuts' pick either. Gigo has played Aurora in that top side, so it is a nice flex to start things off. It's also a great takeaway from Miryu. I think Miryu's Aurora scares me a lot more than either Tuts or Gigo on this pick, and because of that, it's just so flexible. It's putting a ton of pressure onto Cade in terms of what they can afford to pick. Now we see the Azir come through from Miryu. It's a good takeaway from Tuts as well. Something that can play into Aurora rather comfortably. And Bo now also has to figure out what pick he can go for that can play into Aurora, that can remain relevant and doesn't end up feeding.
Yeah, and since we already banned away the Ziggs from Furia's side, you know, traditionally has emerged as a bit of an Azir counter. We've given the Azir over. We still have the Aurora flexibility. It makes me wonder if we actually are going to have something different for Tuts and let Gigo take the Aurora up top side. Of course, VKS will probably be thinking the same thing. They've not gone for the Vi, as we'd wondered, but of course it doesn't really have a good setup in mid lane. Doesn't have an Ari or something like this, so they've just gone for the Sejuani. And now we'll see how the result is going to be for Furia. Now, we've gone for the Senna Nautilus. They've actually locked in their bot side nice and early. So, blind as well in bot side. Obviously, the Senna for IU is definitely very strong. But this opens them up for more bans in the jungle, more bans to try and limit Tuts' options, to maybe force him onto the Aurora. It's going to be maybe pretty tough for that top side again.
Yeah, and with what we're seeing come through from Furia already, I just fear that this isn't a great necessary front-to-back way of dealing with what Cade can opt to drop. The Mbessa to come through for Bull in the top lane. So into the Aurora, that's an interesting one. That is actually a hands check in that Aurora wins out early, but Mbessa with her mobility can run Mbessa down later on. So a lot of it's dodging the burst that can come out from Aurora. If you get hit by those kill shots, you won't have enough health to be able to run her down, but otherwise, that's fine. It also kind of fits into what Cade Stars have gone for. And for Furia, now I'm looking at them to try and threaten the back line. So far, the Aurora, the Senna, the Nautilus, Aurora's got good burst damage, but she's much better at dealing with squishies rather than the tank that is Sejuani. Senna's good at chewing through the front line, but she has no backline access. And I'm a little bit scared Cade can right now just go for like a misfortune if they want with this composition. Feel very comfortable with it and just shred right through Furia. So I need to see some backline access, some threat from Furia here.
I'm wondering who is going to be dealing with Azir, I guess. Yeah, who is going to be stopping Miryu? Because Senna can't go and trade with Azir autos. That's not going to be positive. Aurora has to get pretty tricky with the angle of attack to get into that backline, as you say. So, well, Furia agrees, and they have removed the MF. We can see top lane focus, a diving top lane Renekton removed by VKS. So everyone is very much on the same page as the RMC with this one. We'll see if it's going to be a mid or top lane focus from that last ban, and what Furia will choose to do. Now, VKS will still have that first pick coming out of this second round. Morteus with no MF, no Varus, no Yunara. I guess I wonder what we're going to see. Maybe do we Lucian here to try and bully Senna out? Because we see Mortias go for that. And you've already got Azir for the late game stacking. So we'll see what the choice is going to be for VKS down the bot side.
Yeah, I'd be surprised if we see sort of support being picked up for Cade early. Something that can look for the engage, like the Leona, the Nautilus, heck, even the Nico potentially to come through. And then you can save your AD carry for last pick. And if you need something early, you can go with something like the Lucian. Yeah.
We're banning Alistair. Are we expecting like a jungle Nautilus right now? Is that what VKS are counting on, or because isn't Nautilus technically becoming flexed into other roles now? Like, but they must think that the Nautilus could be flexed, or you would not be banning Alistair. There's no other reason to do so.
Nautilus got buffed in the jungle. He does a bit more damage, but
yeah, that's Alistair top viable again, did they? Sure,
they didn't touch Alistair this patch. No. Yeah, you're right. Actually, that is really weird to see come through. And Tatu being Tatu, I wouldn't be surprised if he did play some jungle Nautilus with the buff to come through. K-Stars, though, they didn't go for the support first. They have
we may have just frozen RMC right here. So I am gonna try and pick this up. This might just be a simple vmix reset for you, buddy RMC. We'll see when he works it out. Obviously, if he's disconnected, he's not gonna know that. So we've gone for Fury, we've got the Jax locked in, so it is going to be a Aurora mid lane. They're actually going to let Tuts run that one in, so that is a little worrying for me. It is going to be a pretty tricky prospect. He's unlikely to make much headway into Miryu. It's going to be more about what he can do elsewhere. And Gigo taking the Jax into Ambessa, so maybe they're trying to make sure that Gigo has a pick that can take the fight to Bull and really punishing him for stepping out of the tank archetype, as Tatu goes for the J4. So a nice kind of standard jungle pick to slot in, can engage, can disengage. And I think we have RMC back right now, so thoughts on the above.
Well, okay, quick catching up. The Jax coming through for top lane, not for Tatu there. And then
so we've kept it standard-ish for Fury here. We've not actually gone too tricky in the end of it. They kept the door open, but they've not gone too tricky.
Okay, fair enough. I like the adaptation. I think the Aurora into the Azir is sort of the safer lane, and you still have a lot of burst damage. We talked about how Aurora does better when she can kind of burst down squishy targets, so Azir is probably an easier burst option than trying to deal with the Ambessa. Ambessa is a bigger threat as well. The Jax is, I think, something that Gigo has piloted very well. He, much like Robo, has carried games with this Jax before and into the Ambessa as well. It's a comfort pick, but it's also a good dive threat we were talking about into the backline. I am a little bit disappointed Kate opted for the Nico instead of the Poppy, though. I don't think you need another engage option when you've got the Sedge, when you've got the Sivir. And I think Poppy to stop the Jax and J4 would have been so much more impactful, but Kate have opted for high risk, high reward. If this works, if they get ahead, Nico plus Sedge is just guaranteed engages with the Sivir, and you're just going to be able to run over Furia. So Cade, with the confidence from game one, I understand where they're coming from. And look, it makes for a more entertaining game, so I'm down for it.
Yeah, I think there is a little bit of value to taking the Nico away. If you feel like you can get away with it almost here, you take it out of JoJo's pool from Fearless, because the Poppy is not something that JoJo's really been touching much this season. So it is going to be take that sting out of the tail, because IU and JoJo especially really loves an engager. Even when he's playing Enchanters, it's like Seraphine, so he loves an engager regardless of if he's front or back. So we'll see if they can manage that one pretty well. Obviously, they've got good wave clear like that. They can try and stay safe with it out of range of the Nautilus. But it does, when I was looking at the comps, it really looks like BKS's is quite simple again to execute. You've got Sivir Azir standing behind, Ambessa and Sejuani at the front, and then Nico coming in from the flank to try and follow up or find the first engage. And on the other side, you've got this range disparity in mid lane for Aurora, where it doesn't feel like you're able to really bully. Jax is certainly fine. Jax is good for Gigo, but again, you need time to scale up and become that threat, whereas the enemy is also scaling their Azir and Sivir at the same time. And, you know, I guess it really depends on me for how this Senna Nautilus fits into all of it, right? Because Senna is a champion that, for me, whenever I look at it, I always think, like, well, this is like a support champion that doesn't do much damage. And then you watch an AD carry play it, and you're like, oh yeah, it's actually does a load of damage, like, if it's set up properly, right? So, and it enables, obviously, Jax and others to do more. So, it's harder for me to understand and see how Furia is going to play out. I really hope we're not just going to walk into a 5v5 front to back, because I feel like that is just asking for disaster into the comp that BKS has put together.
Yeah, it'd be highly ironic considering that in Game 1, Fury couldn't find the 5v5s that they wanted with their composition. If they find it in Game 2 with a composition that doesn't necessarily want to 5v5 that straightforwardly, then
yeah, like it's playable, but the other side is just better. The other side is way more better than playable in terms of the 5v5. As Tats is going to come around the corner and walk into the Samus. Bol is watching from the side. Miryu, obviously a level 1 Azir, doesn't have too much to offer to anything at all, so they will get the first level 1 ward down, bit of chunk onto the Samus. Furia will simply step away without too much rudeness being exchanged.
Yeah, and unfortunately nowadays we don't see junglers try and cheese stuff by, stealing away that level 1 buff. Ward comes down from the Samus to prevent exactly what we were describing right there. So yeah, it will just be kind of knowledge from both these teams in terms of where everybody's starting. Now, Trajan, we talked a lot about the compositions, but I want to talk about it in relation to sort of Game 1 and what happened. The fact that Furia's on red side and they opted for a teamfight composition, and this time Furia's on blue side. And I think what we're seeing with the composition is because teams are trying to get what they consider to be sort of the OP champions in a full fearless best of 5. Aurora, pretty high prio champion. Things like Senna, a pretty high prio champion as well with her ability to scale. And I think because Furia prioritized it, their comp is a little bit not as cohesive, and they're just trying to go for power picks. Whereas on the red side, because you don't get the selection of these OPs right from the get-go, we're seeing a lot more responsiveness and more internal cohesion. So again, much better team fighting from the side of K Stars. But we saw in Game 1 that these OPs are OPs for a reason, and if Furia can get Tuts rolling, like we saw with Miryu and Annie, if Tuts gets rolling, he can just 2-tap a lot of these squishier champions. Morteus, Trimby, Miryu, all of them would just absolutely melt if Tuts can get a lead. But it's all conditional on if Tuts can get a lead, and that looks a little bit tough after Game 1.
Game 1 did not set us up for a great amount of confidence in that, that's for sure. Miryu was absolutely a cut above. For now, we have seen Miryu generally coming out ahead on the trades in mid lane, but Gigo likewise is already starting to push that advantage in top side. The trades are just very, very strong there. And again, that for me casts my eyes down to bot lane. Can Ayu and Jojo make a difference here? Is Morteus going to be allowed to just comfortably snooze his way through the lane and then just be Sivir later? Because we know that you give this guy the ball, you give him 3 items, he's going to carry a game.
Yeah, the problem is I don't know if Ayu and Jojo can pressure Morteus whatsoever. It's really tough. Like as a Senna, you just outpoke your opponent, but Sivir's got a spell shield which heals her up, which means that Morteus can afford to take some more aggressive trades. And Trimby with the clone as well means that Jojo, good luck trying to find engages. One has a spell shield, the other has a clone that can block the hook. So really, really tough. Top side, things are getting a little bit dicey. This is why I prefer to see sort of bruisers or carries in the top side, because it's not a wet noodle fight. There's actual kill threat up here if either misstep.
Oh, seems like he did have an extra biscuit to burn right there. Has the health advantage. Gigo having to sidestep the skill shots, but Tatu is in the area, whereas the Samus is channeling recall on the bot side. Now Tatu is actually going to call the same as well. So it is going to continue being an honorable 1v1 up there for Gigo and Bol. Gigo is going to let the wave crash in with a small CS lead for his efforts. Tuts as well, continuing to just keep even against Miryu. And this is with Azir at the early point in the game where there's really not that much damage in the spells. And it's really going to be later when we'll see that threat start to materialize. For now, it's going to be even. Furia... Oh, hang on a second. Now Samus has made his way right out onto this top side, and he's going to maybe try and sneak into a brush.
Well, they know that the ward is in that furthest most brush. Bol did spot that out and hit it. Gigo now low on mana, low on health. They can brute force this. Is Samus willing to flash?
Here too. Oh, not like that, Bol. That's not a great start to it, though, and Gigo's just leveled up. Now Samus is left in the lurch. Tatu's round the corner. Oh, he's missed the flag and drag. Samus completely clowns on them. You can see Trimby laughing away in the cam, and why not? That was a bit silly, guys.
Yeah, we've seen some funny Tatu Gigo moments. That one's going to make the montage as well. Tatu, unfortunately, predicting the Samus would disengage, and Samus is like, why would I go? Gigo is really low, and Sedge has a surprising amount of burst damage. That's why Sedge, for a while, was sitting in the top lane against melee picks. Tuts also misses his skill shot, but to be fair, that was just a Trimby clone the entire time.
It was Trimby.
Touched it now.
Oh dear, this is a bit unfortunate for Furia right now. They should have had the freebie in top side, they bottle it. Tuts has been bait and switched by Nico. Let's take a look at that again. When Bol takes this tower shot, I thought it was over, but still somehow.
I think everybody thought it was over. Samus thought it was over. Samus just went under, is like, okay, no, I can't find Gigo. Yeah. I'm taking too long. He steps up. And she's like, I'm going to walk out. But the problem is that the flail lands and Gigo doesn't walk away. And so Samus goes, oh, this is not over? You're approaching me with no mana and no health? Bet. I'll take this. I'll get out for free. Didn't even have to burn Flash. It was the freest thing I've seen today from Cade.
Oh, and Miryu's in with the scoop, and Tuts with no flash, no ultimate, leaves himself exposed in mid lane. Furia, what are we doing in these lanes, guys? We are looking worse than game 1 right now.
Trajan, can you please confirm for me? Samus has never played for Furia, right?
I don't think so. Not to my knowledge.
Okay, then you know what? The LTA South doesn't have the law of X's, I guess, because back in CB Law, we had the law of X's. Gigo was formerly Cade. I thought he'd have a buff, but it's Samus just flipping heads every single time on all of this. And we get the replay. Oh, this was the bait. So this is really actually beautiful coming through from Trimby. He fakes to be Azir, and because we did see Miryu basing out of vision, Tuts gets baited, and he actually burns the flash. Whether or not that skill shot hit is utterly irrelevant. You burnt flash, and you weren't going to get anything. And because you didn't have the flash, this play becomes just as free as the topside play. And Samus right now is incredibly happy. He's like a pig in mud right now. This Sejuani on this board, just getting the kills left and right.
And again, the mid jungle starts to open up for VKS. But this time again, it seems like Furia giving them the gifts in this second game. And we'll need to see if they can right the ship here. We don't want to start spiraling away. We don't want to start ending up like Pain in the last grand finals, you know what I mean? Or Pain against Red last week, or, you know, Pain against Loud, or...
Where's this Pain slander coming from, bro?
I don't know, I just think of bottling in this region, and I just think of Pain. I don't know, that's what comes to mind. So, but it is looking a bit dire for Furia, right? They need to get the vibes right again. This is normally a very good vibes team, but we are starting to make very uncharacteristic mistakes right now.
And low-key, I kind of expected Cade to come out swinging this week, because in their behind-the-scenes video that they post weekly, Cade made it look like there was very low energy in their team, and that, you know, there were a lot of problems. And knowing CL doesn't release footage if it's actually bad for his team. So when they look bad, they're probably doing really, really well. And when they look like they're doing really well, they're probably fine and chill. So yeah, when I saw that, I was thinking, okay, they probably bounce back. Jojo throwing a hook in onto Trimby, you know, just a little bit of harassment, but bad idea, because there's an anti-bullying policy for Cade, and they just bounce back, and they're winning this trade right now.
Oh, we're flashing onto the Samus. This is a lot of committal, folks, but they do find the hook, actually. Mortea steps too far forward, has to flash away. Miryu has now arrived right now. The AP AD carry is ready to pick up the slack, but Tuts can ferry them away. Furia getting very aggressive in the river, and they do force VKS back.
Okay, and Furia, glad to see they're still, you know, being very proactive. They're still willing to make things happen. Both sat in a bush on a ward. And Furia's still willing to push this one because they know Morteus is not there. They have a numbers advantage, but for how long? Morteus is running straight out of base as fast as he can.
Samus, no ult, no flash. Bowl still sitting on that ward in the brush, and Furia already have the 2 grubs, so they don't have to stick the 3rd, but they will do. So they stay strong, and they will pick up an objective nonetheless. So again, as you say, not quite fully cowed, a couple of uncharacteristic mistakes, but they go back to what works, and when they feel confident, when they are strong, they do know when they can push that.
Yeah, and those grubs will still have a pretty good impact this game, especially with the top laners that we're seeing. No tanks here, so both of them, Bull and Gigo, will be looking to push, and we know how effective Jax can be. When he gets some alone time with turrets, he's going to be even faster on these turret takes right now. Trajan, I'm hoping they give us a replay, because I'd love to see what happened. The fight starts actually in Cade's favor. I thought Samus, you know, with how tanky he was, you know, soaking out the initial poke, that was great, but that hook landing onto Matreus changes everything. And for Cade, they can't afford to let their AD carry get hooked like that in these fights, especially when Sivir is as short-ranged as she is.
Yeah, I think just a little misstep from Morteus costs VKS the potential to force Furia out and then get the grubs themselves, perhaps, as Samus now hovering bot side for the time being. Miryu gonna soak up that farm as the AD carries are politely trading waves in the mid lane. Tuts with a less fed opponent, and one that he hasn't lost so many lanes to recently to go up against now, but a confidence boosting perhaps. Let's put him against Bowl for a bit and see if we can get the Aurora back in the game.
Yeah, that one's a bit of a timer. Usually Ambessa spikes on her first item, so no Eclipse just yet.
Yes.
Tuts has his Haunted Guys. So again, we talked about Haunted Guys last game, how stat efficient it is. So Tuts has a comfortable matchup, regardless which lane he kind of opted into. The bot side one was the more interesting one for me, for Gigo and Miryu. Turned out to be very non-interactive, actually. But I was wondering if with the Sheen, there was any sort of threat from Gigo to be able to hop onto the Azir. In the end, they just kind of both farmed, disengaged, and then they just swapped back so that Tuts is matching up into Miryu here.
Jojo, aim over a ward in the bot try, gets one of his own down. Tuts now. TP down. Will take up the mantle once again to deal with Miryu. A thankless task in this league. But Miryu now, you can see the gold lead. Obviously, this is up to 2k already. So again, the last time they played, 2k was enough to decide the winner. And we are now into game number 2, 11 minutes in. VKS already comfortably in the lead, and Gigo has been caught out. The top jungle gank squad catches him trying to push the wave. And he flashes as well. He's actually out of there. That is crazy movement by Gigo to get away with that one. Fair play, I suppose. I thought he was dead to rights.
Yeah, chugging biscuits, Podge just barely enough to keep Gigo alive. I think Bull flashed a little bit too early. But for Gigo, unfortunately, still really hurts to have to blow that flash and that TP immediately. So he won't have that available to go for this dragon play. Meanwhile, Bull has his teleport available. So Cade should feel comfortable going for this dragon, but Trajan, even as I say that, you're not at all there. And I love that Tatu has the nerve to do this. Top laner lost TP. We've lost Prio. Doesn't matter. Burn it fast before Cade starts to realize what's happening and is in position to actually capitalize on it.
And now, are you counting minions, are you? Can you count minions? Any thoughts? I think there are some pings going down in the lane, so I think he knows. And the dragon's taken, so Furia, I guess, is like, VKS are definitely strong enough to take this, but if we grab it before they even arrive, then it's good. So they sneak it away. Nice decision by Tatu, and Ayu does not get tricked by the simple math problem in mid lane.
And because they see the extra minion too, they know for a fact that Trimby's in the area, so they're not worried about, they don't think that their dragon is spotted as well, so they're comfortable that junglers are both in the mid lane, but with Cade being shoved in, I just don't see the dive threat from Furia. They don't have enough damage, not with Ayu. They need Tuts or they need Gigo. Heck, I'm not even sure Gigo has enough damage for dives at this point.
No, he doesn't have the Triforce yet, and Bowl's already got the Eclipse locked up as well. So Furia, we're feeling that 2.5k deficit right now. The inventories just do not stack up, but we can see that Ayu and Jojo can trade decently well, and Tatu is able to pick up value on the map just through macro decision making. But hang on a second. Monteus has managed to end up on 30% HP somehow. We won't ask why. We will simply move on, I suppose. But yeah, it does seem like Furia, they can feel, I think, the weakness that they have, and they're trying to be careful. Tuts, is he careful enough? Ooh. He's gone straight into the pit. It is just Trimby, and there's a bit of that Aurora burst that we've been looking for. So at least he will step back full HP to deal with Miryu.
Sadly, Trajan, I fear that's about as bursty as we're going to see Tuts for the next 10 minutes. Looks like he's going for the Leandries first. To try and deal with the Samus, which, hey, not a bad item, but...
Ooh, does he know? Does he know? Oh, chat, in comes Miryu. He's got to the other side. He's flashed out of his own ultimate, so he can't change positions with it. Trimby's there to lock it up with the final Pot Blossom. And Tuts, I think, was trying to flash onto the wall of the ult to change position, but overshoots. Again, the struggles continue for Furious mid, as VKS are looking for a little bit of a dive here. Jojo is not that tanky, and Tatu doing what he can. The Samus low, Miryu low, a flash in from Jarvan, one more Q. Does he have it? He's got one. Already dropped the flag, can't do a drag to get into range. But Tatu at least salvages one there.
So a 2-for-1, that favors Cade. But Furia, like you said, salvaging the situation, just trying to stay competitive, Trajan. And I'm looking at the gold difference. 2,600 at 14 minutes reminds me a lot of game 1. I think Cade is in a very, very comfortable spot. They hit their item power spikes first. Miryu, he completed Nash's too. Tuts hasn't completed the Leandries. Bo completed Eclipse. Gigo's still sitting on the components, the Sheen, the Phage. And for Furia, okay, you got the kill, all good and well. You're still behind. You still can't play the lanes. I'm looking at the objectives. Herald's come in 14 seconds. Herald has become the big game breaker a lot of times, especially when these teams are so good at closing out. If you're already 2k, 3k ahead when you get Herald, that's often going to snowball to 4,000+ gold once you actually leverage that Herald. And the team fight is looking really, really bad for Furia as well. Tuts just cannot catch a break. I mean, did kind of dodge out, I feel like, on the Emperor's Divide a little bit, but the chain CC coming through, and like you said, he flashed. If he didn't flash, I don't think he gets to this boundary anyways. So he flashed for the immediate survival, but it just ends up being dead after. And I think Jojo and Tatu play this flawlessly. This is about as well as you can play it under turret. They maximize the turret damage. But imagine Tatu has another item. That's just Miryu dead under turret. That allows you to hold the flag and drag to actually chase onto Sejuani. And you can see Thinkard's reaction there. He knows how close this all is. And he also knows that the way the cookie crumbled, close has now become very, very far.
Yep, I think you can see the struggles that his players are having right now. 3k down still as the Herald fight begins. Furia starts it up right now, and they have arrived early once again. Dasamis taking the topside route round. He may not be in range in time. He is going to get there. 4,000 HP. Is he going to go for the steal? He's not going to go for it. It is going to be Furia. So they'll pick that Herald up. They will avoid the win more button being secured by the other side. And weird for VKS to win a fight, gain a lead, and then be late to the following objective.
Yeah, and we kind of saw this happen with the Dragon a little bit too.
Yeah,
and
same
look,
thing.
I didn't ask when they kind of sacked the Dragon. I didn't ask when Morteus randomly got chunked by IU. I will ask now, Trajan, why are they not at Herald? Like, that is a huge win more button. And you call it a win more button. It's also a redemption button for Furia. What Herald gives you is not only the fact that it kind of does a lot of turret damage, but you can also ride Shelly into combat for its knockups, which can nullify. It's basically free CC for your team. On top of that, you can also use it as pressure in a different lane while you're setting up for Dragon. So you're giving Furia a lot of options to get back into the game. And granted, Furia has made quite a few mistakes in the early game, both last game and this game, but they have made some really good macro calls as well. And you don't want to be giving a team like Furia, who scrapped their way back into games, back in Split 1, back in Split 2, an opportunity to find their comfort zone or to find any sort of lead or way to nullify the advantage that Kate Stars have accrued.
Dragon spawning Infernal this time, and Dasamis will not be late to the party.
Okay.
Third time's the charm. They've already started it on spawn, and Furia not even going to sniff at that one. They're actually dropping bot tower as well. Gigo gets right out of there. And can I ask when Gigo fell 50 CS behind Bowl? Can I ask when that
lane
happened?
swaps. It was actually in lane swaps. Yep.
I see.
Because whenever he faced up into Miru and all that, it always felt like Bo had the first move advantage. So Bo was able to pick up CS while Miru would just kind of trail and pick things up, and then he was able to answer Shelly. Okay, so we do see the turret going down. I believe first break went the way of Cade, so they will get themselves the feats of strength. But Furia answering mid lane, and Shelly getting a second charge into the inner turret. I don't know if Furia will actually be able to capitalize that anytime soon, but it's there. And that does mean that Cade will have to keep that in mind a little bit. You don't want to be losing an inner mid turret for no reason here.
Yes, just clearing out that bot side jungle. Complete control of this side of the map as Gigo's scraping together what CS he can. The Jax needs time to scale, and that time is being pushed further and further back into the future by VKS, holding him down. As meanwhile, we can see Tuts is not succeeding in stopping Bowl, continuing to accrue that lead. Goes in for a little bit of a trade to protect the pink ward. Won't find it, but ultimately Jojo and Tatu, perhaps they can find an angle. The top lane tower is very low, but Bowl's got flash, he's got ult, he's Ambessa. It's not an easy target to pressure.
So here's the problem for Furia, is that they're also scared at Spade. They don't have enough ward coverage to feel comfortable or to know where multiple members of Cade is. Dasamis and Trimby are both missing. So they want to get this turret, but Tuts is afraid to push up alone, rightfully so. And so they have to call for an overload. And now Trimby is running to this top side with the minion wave. Oh,
now
Furia.
they have to wait for the full wave before they can count them. They should see that there's 4 melees.
Not yet, not yet.
Just about now. Now they will know, of course. But Tuts still loses half his HP just on a kind of a cursory trade from Bowl at the start of that exchange. Oh, in fact, Trimby gets the flash forced by the ultimate. So Tatu not allowing the Nico to go literally wherever she pleases. But that is the ult now down. And Tatu has been one of the few successes so far with a small lead over Dasamis. The rest of the map not doing too hot.
Oh, okay, Gigo pushed away,
Flashes
still gets back.
over. Miryu sent it ult too, and actually, the slide, but just gets into range for one leap strike for Gigo. That cooldown is a lot shorter, and there it is. Furia needed that RMC. They needed it bad, as Tuts is still under pressure in top.
Okay, public execution.
Very close.
Yeah, thankfully doesn't land. So Tuts gets to live today. But yes, as you were saying, Gigo needed that very, very sorely. And not only because he needs gold and he needs pressure as well, but it also shuts down Miryu. And Trajan, let's talk about this mid laner, because we set this matchup up, right? It seemed like the biggest mismatch on paper. Tuts has been in the past a big carry for Furia, but especially here in Split 3 so far, feels like he's kind of lost the sauce. Like whatever happened in Vancouver and at MSI, I don't know, but Tuts doesn't feel like the carry that he has been, whereas Miryu looks revitalized on this K-Stars roster, has looked perfectly in sync with the Samus, with Trimby, with these roams. And now Miryu, you talk about that goal, the CS differential that opened up for Gigo and for Tuts, a lot of that is on Miryu. He's very, very good at kind of punishing, at shoving these waves in and harassing at range. And so being able to shut down Miryu takes a lot of that pressure that K-Stars had off the map. It's very, very short. I mean, Miryu is already back up, is already back in mid, but it's huge for Furia. Now Trimby gets caught again with the Cataclysm.
He's got the Pot Blossom, but it's just going to be a delaying tactic. Tatu picks it up, so a lovely little pick. Furia starting to get a couple of points on the board right now, and the Atakan control is theirs. Now, Mateus is here. He's got double summoners. He's going to throw out some Boomerang Blades to poke, and currently Miryu is flashless, just chilling in mid lane. They're going to need to rotate up here. Ayu not even bothering to hit the objective right now. Furia with some interesting decision making as Miryu TP's back up. Gigo now TPing in to coalesce with the team, and we've got the full 5v5 RMC, but a lovely route out from Ayu, but the fight is split on two fronts right now. Dasamus has to back away. A lot of damage coming out from Miryu Morteus right now. Ayu doing what he can. Tuts threatening. The burst is very dangerous against the low health targets. Gigo is cooking bowl on the side. It's getting very low. He dashes away, and Atakan for Furia. A tense display up in the top side. No kills either side, but the objective for the Panthers.
Low-key, Trajan, part of me thinks this comes from the Herald play, right? Like, K-Stars didn't take it, Furia got the gold, and now they're closing that gold gap over and over and over again. And remember, Furia back in Split 1, they weren't the favorites. Back in Split 1, it was like, oh, this is a very young rookie team. Yeah, they've got an import coach coming in from NA, but are they really, really good? And then they were losing early games, but they were bouncing back late. They would just be scrappy, win a single team fight late game and win. In Split 2, that's when they showed us good early game macro and micro to come through. And here in Split 3, at the critical moment, first game of the elimination phase, and they are bouncing back, answering K-Stars. 1,000 gold lead at 22 minutes with a whole bunch of Spirit Blossoms. Trajan, that's not a lead. If anything, I think Cade might actually be slightly in the deficit with all the extra AD that Furia picked up with that Atakan.
Absolutely. Now, the 3k gold lead has shrunk to 1. This is not something we saw last week with these teams. It's certainly not what we saw in game number 1. But Furia now straight onto this dragon, looking to even the count up. Dasamus is over the wall, has the ult, but no flash. And VKS still looking to posture, and maybe can test them on the way out. But Trimby, without a way in, Furia weren't bunched up. Yeah, TP in here, maybe a little behind the curve. Are they going to try and catch Furia, taking the unsafe way back to turret? They're not going to find an easy angle.
Get a turret. It's extra gold in pocket, but yeah, that TP I feel like nullifies a lot of what they're looking for. Now Furia looking for the engage.
Ooh, massive Cataclysm catches all 4 of them in there, and there's no more chance. It's a meat grinder. Furia, lovely catch on the overextension by VKS. All of them fall down. Triple for Tuts, no less, and Morteus simply left alone in mid lane. What a snap call by Furia.
And I want a replay on that, because I didn't think Furia had vision of that bush. I think the first bit of vision they got was the flag coming down from Tatu. And Tatu, zero hesitation, just going up the wall, Cataclysm, and flash out to dodge the Pot Blossom. Like, that was all of them in the Cataclysm. That's what allowed Furia to just dump all the AoE from range, not taking damage. The game has completely flipped, Trajan. 1.6k gold advantage for K-Stars. Forget that. It's a 2k for Furia on a strong push, and Baron spawning in a minute as well. If Furia could win the Atakan fight when they were down gold, K-Stars, they've got to be quaking their boots right now. They've got to be thinking about, how do we engage these fights? Because we lost when we were ahead. How do we play from when we were behind? Yeah, there's no vision.
He just guesses. He's like, I think they're in here, guys. I'm going.
And the Emperor's Divide as well knocks Gigo back. I don't think he got caught by Pot Blossom. Either that or he was in air when it happened, because he was moving right after that. That is so, oh my god. If you're a kid, you're so tilted. Just so much anti-synergy coming through, and Furia just getting all the lucky breaks.
The fact that none of them could actually get out of the Cataclysm at that moment. Just the right coalescence of no flashes, no movement ability, maybe just a little bit of fumbling in the kind of shock and awe of the moment. And they all get trapped in there for the massive Ayu ult. The Tuts burst gets to land onto everyone, and that accelerates Tuts right back into a small gold lead after having another pretty disastrous game. That play, a 3k gold swing. I cannot wait to see the gold graph on that one. That's going to be pretty funny.
There you
Now,
go.
Gigo may be under attack here, but Tatu's coming around the corner. Sentinel over the top. Miryu still doing what he can, dodging out, but there's the CC layering onto this Jax. It's starting to suffer. Dash forward from Miryu, avoids the Tatu disruption, and Gigo burning away. And he will fall down to the Samus. A fine effort, but Cade Stars are the winners there.
And Baron is on the table now. Cade have the numbers advantage. Gigo being down is actually kind of critical. He has been a huge force for a lot of these picks for Furia. The Counter-Strike has been very effective, and the pressure that he puts down on the split push is massive as well. But Cade, they don't want to risk it. They know Gigo still has teleport. The 40-second window was not enough time for them to be able to melt down Baron. And for Cade Stars, slow is not a bad idea. They still have a lot of skill on their side. They still have the Azir. They still have Sivir. And while Senna technically scales infinitely, you can see, well, oh, sorry, that's gold totals. I was wondering if we saw damage totals. I suspect Morteus is starting to climb up there and actually might be doing more damage than IU.
If he gets to be in the fight next time, yeah, he's probably going to get up there. But
yeah, true.
Last time he did not really have an option. He just had to sort of watch from the sidelines going, guys, what's going on over there? It seems like a bit of a nightmare for you. And, Fury do have Jack scaling up on the other side as well. The scaling seems fairly, at least in reasonable terms, assuming the game ends by around the 45-minute mark, plus most games do. It's going to be fairly comparable, right? If we go to 60, then yes, Io is going to become a menace. But normally, these teams especially do not drag us into games of that length.
I think last week it was like 32 or 33 minutes was the longest game in that series. Two games were sub 30 minutes. So, this game already feels like it's on track to be longer than expected. And I'm not going to discount the possibility of one massive team fight and a game end like what we just saw in game one. Cade Stars suspect Baron is being done. They see Touch trying to zone people out. Ward drops in. They know Baron off health.
Okay, Furia. Normally this is a good Baron team and they do peel away. No crazy flips to be found here. They've got the Miryu TP. And they back away. The Baron mostly resets, and now Furia are the ones who can take flanking positions. The Samus out of the pit, and a lovely little maneuver by Furia to steal away that summoner. Are you going to get Prio over mid lane as well? They're actually going to have the first move onto the Dragon River, which could put them at Infernal Point.
Yep, this is sort of that solid gameplay you expect to see from Furia. Really solid macro. Just bait out the TP at the Baron, go for the small advantages, get that early pressure mid. Now, while all that was happening, a turret did go down, and that was Cade's minions pushing on the bot inner turret that had been set up by Miryu. What feels like half a game ago, Trajan, back when Cade Stars were in the driver's seat. To be fair, they've equalized the gold, so I wouldn't say Furia is in the driver's seat. It's just kind of gone back to that sort of tense seesaw swing back and forth. And Cade, they've started up Baron, and Furia don't have vision, but they have suspicions, and that's enough for now.
They don't have nearly the same position they had last time, but this time it's VKS to be the first to peel away. Furia do still have those couple of pinks that are giving them a safe pathway to at least get vision on the objective, plus that little ward on the left side of your screens that gives them an idea if VKS is in or out. And IU and Gigo, in fact, working on the Dragon. Now, Furia, you've got to be careful here. Don't get caught by Pop Blossom. Don't get shuffled in, because you don't have the damage.
Man, this is like one of those sneaking games, you know, Trajan? Like where you're just trying to sneak around and not get spotted. Furia sneak away the dragon, and Cade, we talk about the lack of vision for Furia in the Baron pit itself, so they're not actually sure whether or not Cade starts starting up. They need to be sending physical bodies in there to check, but Cade only have vision around the Baron pit, so they've lost full control everywhere else on the map, and that allows Furia to be able to set up their waves, to be able to take that dragon and get themselves soul point. And we talked about the Atakan earlier, kind of nullifying the 1k gold lead Cade had after Atakan was being taken. Well, if you add Ocean Soul, or pardon me, Infernal Soul on top of that for Furia, then at that point, Furia might actually be able to match that earlier scaling spike that Cade have with the Azir and Sivir. And that just makes these team fights that much more exciting. It might just come down to who manages to find the big AoE catches first. Is it the Cataclysm finding the likes of the Azir, the Sivir, or will it be the Pop Blossom from Trimby finally landing on multiple members?
EKS maintaining control over the Baron, clearing out the pink wards critically as well. So Furia completely in the dark down there. And they don't have anything to worry about just yet, but certainly a bit of sweat perhaps as Gigo sticking on the push in bot side. TP at the ready. The Jax now approaching 3 items is going to become very difficult for anyone to manage. Furia able to get a pink down the brush as well. Both teams just trading control over this river, fishing for that opportunity.
Just pushing scaling up. And this isn't your usual CBLCK, you know, Trajan. It's not like the teams are trying to play it slow. They're just really, really scared.
Yeah, and there's been a lot of fights with very low kill counts, but a lot of action and low HP bars earlier on in this game, so it feels like the kill count is a little misrepresentative of the action here. Zir turret being popped in the mid lane. Furia continuing to just pick up those sideways. Gigo, I thought he might have his Zhonya's right there, but he's only going to be a couple hundred gold off it. It's only a 450 combined cost, so he's almost got that third item done. And Tuts is actually TPing to the bot side river, and is now going to step away with Furia as VKS again threaten that Baron pit, but peel back.
And to be fair to Tuts, he's kind of doing that to be sneaky as well. They know that they have vision control around that bot side, so he just doesn't want to get spotted coming in to this fight and seeing if he can maybe catch somebody with some sneaky burst. Unfortunately, he wasn't able to find anything, but fortunately, Cade weren't actually on it. So it ends up just being a net neutral thing, and we're just back to this mid lane dance back and forth. The Azir turret really doesn't help matters, Trajan. It actually slowed everything down, and now Fury have to wait for the turret to expire. It goes down, and immediately, Tati trigger.
He's got one caught, but into the backline goes Bo. He's completely eliminated Ayu. Lovely assassination by the VKS top laner. It leaves Tatu with no recourse. Gigo trapped in the pit. Stunning catch by the Ambessa of Furious attempt to make a play.
And Trajan, it's Tatu pulling the trigger, which really shocked me that the turret just went down, but it didn't look like Furia was all with Tatu. We didn't get to see the Cataclysm into all the AoE bursts, into all the damage that kind of won them that bot side fight, which swung the game. Instead, Furia delivered themselves up on a silver platter, and Cade are more than happy to take all of it. Can they at least get the mid-inner? I don't even think so. Okay, they barely do before Morteus gets there. Holy.
Ball's going to finish off this tower as well. VKS, they went from about 800 gold ahead to 5,500 gold ahead. This gold graph just got even crazier. Tuts and Jojo now trying to contest Boland Samus with difficulty, and you can see just the carries of Furia got literally nothing done in that fight, and all 4 damage dealers of VKS were pulling their weight, dropping over 2k apiece. That is really not what you want to see in Fury, who done so much work to dig themselves out of the hole, have just fallen right back in.
Fair enough. They dug themselves out and then decided to hop right back in. And it really is just all about Bull on the side there. The way he gets into that back line, it completely interrupts any sort of follow-up to come through from Tatu. And they needed the extra burst of damage. They needed everybody to go in. And you could see the hesitation in the beginning of that fight too. Do we go for it? Do we support Tatu? Or do we go back and support Ayu? And Fury ends up doing neither. So that's what allows Cade to just kind of roll through. And unfortunately, the hesitation as well leaves Gigo up a creek with no paddle. And now... we're back alive, and Trimby is back
another fight, and we're on to Bowl now with an exhaust. 4 Furia members swarming over. Ayu looking to get some revenge right now, but this Ambessa, tricky as ever, stunned by Gigo. There's the second kill. Ayu gets the revenge. Desama's keeping the fight going. Miryu, Morteus, these are scary carries, everybody, and Furia do not want to walk straight into them.
Now, Trajan, you might be wondering how we got here.
Oh, but they've got the Samus. But this could be Infernal Soul if they get the jungle right here. Someone's got to finish this kill off, and Morteus just backed. Now Miryu has no support. The Samus is going to get picked up by Tuts. The ult is there. A flash away from the Azir will keep him alive unless Gigo can catch him. Morteus, though, is going to come around the corner. Furia, there is a soul on the board, and they peel back to pick it up.
Okay, Trajan, I'm wondering how we got here. We cut out of a replay to see Cade way deep in Furious jungle, where it feels like they had no business being. I guess with the lead, they thought they were comfortable. But, okay, we get to see the replay of how this started. So they were just trying to be sneaky. They were trying to reinforce Miryu's push on the bot side. But I want to remind everybody, there's no inner turret there. Miryu doesn't need to be that far pushed up. And unfortunately for Bo and for Trimby, they were just isolated. Furia was willing to pull the trigger. And this is that sort of comeback power that Furia has. They are very willing, as they fall deeper and deeper in the hole, to make these sort of risky plays and just all in together as a team. If they see anybody isolated, they just pounce on it. And because of that, they split Cade, and they're picking them one off after another. And like you said, that's so Infernal going the way of Furia. 4K gold lead still favors Cade. I don't think Soul quite makes up for 4,000, but it's pretty big and it's permanent.
You know, we're taking fat chunks out of that number, and we've still got Ayu scaling up. And shout out to 1inch Ash in the chat who called exactly that happening about 2 minutes ago. So this guy knows ball, you know what I mean? And we are right back where we were before. We're at an even state. Both teams can win a fight. Both teams are now low on summoners, and we've got a long time till the next objective. So we may be back to wave push central.
you see that? Trimby was a blood. Oh my goodness.
Bowl?
Blood pedal?
Bowl? We said wave per central bowl, not hide in the enemy jungle bowl, and Tuts is down again. That's a critical death right now. There's no objectives to take, but doesn't speak well to VKS right now. I feel like the 1-3-2 sign for Bowl is again not representative of the impact he's had thus far, but we need to keep our heads, lads.
I don't know, Trajan. It feels kind of representative. He had the early kills and now he's got the late deaths.
Like that catch onto IU should have won them the game. That should have won VKS the game. And it hasn't, and I feel bad for the guy because that should have been all he needed to do, you know?
One good thing doesn't erase all the other mistakes you've made. And
well, in League of Legends, in the history books, it does, I'm afraid. That the one highlight that goes in the world's remix year after year, and all of the mistakes, that no one remembers those, my friend. They're all gone.
Tell you what, Trajan, if he makes another one of those plays onto IU,
yes,
or onto Tuts, then I think maybe
he's got to even up again. He's got to even up again now.
And at the state of the game we're at, this is already the longest game, I believe, between both these teams throughout this year. Somebody can fact check me on that. At least, definitely this split. And we're at the point where a single catch could lead into a team wipe, could lead into game being over.
Speaking of, Trimby caught again! Oh my days,
What?
the vision diff. Wait, isn't he just on a pink ward backing? Am I crazy? Did they just drop the pink and find him?
Yeah, I think they dropped the pink and found him. Like, I don't think it was
thank
actually
goodness.
on the pink
Otherwise, I'd have lost it. But that's another death, and VKS, you don't get any more of those. You got two free deaths before an objective was live. Next time, you're losing a Baron.
Yeah, and if there is a time after that, you're losing an Elder. So for Cade, their 4K gold lead does get whittled away literally just from those catches. Is that significant? No. It doesn't really make much of a difference. They're just they're almost full build. Morteus is already at 5th. Tatu still on the hunt.
Easy, buddy. Take it easy. No need to do that. We do have an almost full build Morteus who has no kills, no deaths, 3 assists in 37 minutes. Sivir has 3 assists in 38 minutes. This guy just cannot get into a play. He's got position now, though. A force by Fury. This is going to be a front to back. In goes Bowl into the backside. Look at this damage from the Ambassador. And Trimby gets to follow it up this time. They get one back on the support, but VKS have been dreaming of this front to back for 37 minutes. Furia hand it to them, and that's just the game, is it not?
It is, and look, that's not going to go on Bowl's highlight reel. That doesn't go on the world's recap, but I'll give him this. It washes the sins of his game away. Another beautiful flank coming through from Bowl and Cade. Clutch out a win, but Trajan, it is a hard-fought win. And if we look at the games, game 1, easy sweep. Game 2, really tough. Furia are coming back. They are trying to bounce back. And Cade, you're sweating a little. Could we see a reverse sweep? It's possible, and Cade want to nail this down ASAP.
Furia really making the Cade Stars work for it. Tatu especially. Such a great game from him, but BKS, this mid-jungle duo again performing so well. Bowl with critical, multiple game-winning moments in one single game. And BKS, Miryu, Morteus finally gets to play a single fight in the whole game. The game ends once again. It's just like game 1. Morteus biding his time, joins one team fight, Nexus explodes.
Yeah, maybe it cost Chris a little bit, Trajan. You're talking about the 003, and Morteus just went, no, bet, I'll show you that I can get some kills. I actually don't know if he did get any kills in the last fight, but...
Who cares? He got a dub, you know what I mean?
He had impact, and that's all you really need to win the game. It's not about the kills. It's about taking down the final structures. Though, again, the fact that Cade struggled as they did, Trajan, when they got themselves a 4K gold lead with a Sivir Azir composition in the mid-game, that's not ideal, and it is fully possible to reverse sweep. Furia is bouncing back, but what Furia does need to fix is their early game. Because you can't be giving up these sort of advantages over and over and over again. It makes it so incredibly hard to play. If they were even at mid-game, I think they'd have won. But they weren't, and that's on them.
Yep, that is 100% on them. They managed to find the comeback that time. Game 1, they couldn't even give us that much, and they have one more chance to stay in the upper bracket. After beating VKS last week, they're on the cusp of being knocked down 3-0. Certainly not the start they would wish for, but VKS, they are rolling right now, and I'm sure they'd love to go home early. For now, we're going to go for a quick break. We'll be back in just a few minutes. We're going to run some ads, and then we will have Game 3 coming towards you guys to see if VKS can wrap it up, or if Furia can start fighting back.
on to what we love. Risk the follow, we have felt it all come crashing down from far above. Stars are rising, countless worlds colliding, only one will take it all. Can we bring to fall the giants? Can we make the final call? We are the ones to ignite the darkened skies, the champions of the world that we defy. A solo ride of the few who rise up high, and we all fight at the last light.
Welcome back, everybody. VKS now standing 2-0 up over a struggling Furia. Not to say that that game was easy by any stretch of the imagination. The gold graph, in fact, does not look as silly as I thought it did, but I think it's probably just a little pinched for the gold stats. Like, there was a lot of throwing, a lot of back and forth in these fights, but ultimately, VKS holds up. They finally get a clean 5v5, and as we said at the very start of the draft, Fury don't want that. They don't want a 5v5 against this comp. You'll get mashed, and they did.
Fair enough. I mean, they did put up a really close fight considering how their composition didn't match up that favorably in a 5v5 situation. But Trajan, this also puts sort of the overall standings into question here. Chaos is just raining down here in the LTA South. We saw Pain get dismantled by Red just last week, and Fury beat Kate last week, and now Kate is smashing Fury this week. We were talking on the podcast, or y'all were talking on the podcast about, having no longer just a clear number one, number two, but now, there's 3 teams in the mix. Now we've got 4 teams in the mix with Kate's Revival. And with Kate's Revival as well, I mean, Coach CL has been very vocal. I think he was predicting a 3-0 smash this week. But he said a lot of things, and people are like, he's just being dramatic again.
He posts a lot. He's a poster. We don't take it super seriously.
He's kind of putting his score where his mouth is in this particular series.
Yeah.
He is actually looking on track for a 3-0 now. It does come down to Game 3, and I'm curious where the draft goes from here, because Kate have shown us 2 different styles, and we talked about, Vi being an option for Desamis to replicate that Game 1 style. She's still on the table. If you want a teamfight composition, there are still options for it. Sedge is gone, Skarner is gone, but Maokai's still there. Wukong is a more Desamis style pick, which is also present for sort of AoE wombo combo compositions.
Yep, and we have now, we're kind of going to have to start going down the list of carries for top lane for both sides, because Gigo certainly wants to be carrying these games, and Bol now as well demonstrated that he's able to manage out a decent lane against Gigo. He's able to find critical catches in team fights on the carries as well, so he's actually having a very good series, and that was my sort of, if Bol can't do it, then VKS can't do it. Currently, so far today, Bol's kind of doing it. He's kind of doing it, and they're looking very, very strong for it. So we are gonna see if Fearless starts to bite in game number 3, but so far it's been plain sailing. VKS have not been struggling. They have been focusing mostly on meta champions in the regular season, where they don't have to necessarily go too far down the list, and so far they are looking perfectly peachy today. The meta is not that constricted right now. They've got options still.
Fair enough, and back into draft we go, where we had all these questions. Trajan Fury still opting for the blue side once again. Oriana Trundle band's coming out, and they first pick a Rise, and this one's probably going to touch. I don't think we've seen Gigo play Rise anytime recently, so no, yeah, I feel like they're done with tricks. Yep, they're just picking, straight up. I want to be able to carry, and we just want to smash. We want comfort.
Yeah, and I think we have Tuts again with the ability to use the ult for team plays if necessary, can be very resilient in lane, can just be pushing the waves, can build, gets a lot of kind of bonus tankiness through a normal AP build path. So Tuts is going to be happy enough with that. The Galio as the return option. Now, it's not the kind of thing that punishes Ryze necessarily, but it's potentially just a bit of a handshake lane in mid, as there's is unlikely to be a pick in top lane that's going to necessitate a Galio flex for a bowl, and I think Gigo would probably just take Jace or something and completely ranch it if we try to put it up there. So I imagine this is just a bit of a handshake. Now, putting Miryu on something that's not going to stomp 1v1 and have a really strong early 2v2 maybe, it's not too bad as the Nocturne comes through.
This would be a third different style Trajan coming through from K-Stars, right? We've seen sort of the mid jungle brute force, like laning early game, win early game, win lane, win game. Pardon me. There we go. We've seen team fight, and now we're seeing globals to come through with the Nocturne, with the Galio, and there's still a lot of things you can branch into with the Nocturne Galio, including traditional marksman carries in the bot side with a strong front line. Speaking of Furia, Viego and Cassante. This is truly kind of solo QS. This has nothing to do with team fighting. I'm not seeing any cohesion between these picks. It's just we want strong lanes, and we want and Tatu wants something he can carry with. Remember, in week 1, he popped off with the first pentakill of split 3 with Jax, right? And Viego is another champion who can look for these sort of pentakills.
I'm not sure we've ever seen the Viego for maybe once or twice, but this is not a common pick for him. And like all time, like in LTA South, like we don't see this a lot, which is it's interesting that we don't, because he is very aggressive. He likes to invade. He gets a lot of kills. He just gets them on Skarner. He doesn't play Viego. So it's interesting that we don't see the Viego that much, but I'm excited to see what he can do with it, as VKS is building like the quintessential, this is how you synergize your champions team. Nocturne, Camille, Galio, that engage combo is fearsome right now. To be honest, the bot lane are completely separate to this. That 3-man stack is already enough of a combo by itself.
Exactly, and the Camille is amusing too to me because it's great into Cassante. In fact, Gigo used to run Camille into Cassante's all the time, and that was sort of his big pocket pick. So now the shoe's kind of on the other foot because Gigo blinded Cassante. Now, Trajan, I do want to talk about the Viego pick as well for Tatu, because you're right, it's rare for Tatu in LTA South to play Viego.
Right.
But he used to play it a lot in CPL Academy. And it was a champion that he could absolutely take over with. So it is still a bit of a champion he's comfortable on. But that's why I kind of feel like it's a desperation pick coming through from them. Viego can really swing a game either way. Like, he's a huge force multiplier, but you do need force on your team. So you're talking about the bot lanes. I need to see Ayu and Jojo actually have something that can pump out that initial damage to allow Tatu to get those resets. And we're seeing a lot of focus already. 80 carries taken away. Zaya and Kaisa both kind of being taken off the table right now. And now the Alistair that's been removed from Jojo. I feel like Jojo is not a support with a small champion pool. He's one of the few Enchanter players that we've seen. He's played the Karma, he's played the Seraphine, albeit by mistake. And, he's played even like the likes of Renata as well. So I'm not sold on this Alistair ban so far. And I want to see Furia pick something a little bit more, lane dominant, something that will have the impact a bit earlier on.
Yeah. Furia removing the MF, I guess not necessarily. You wouldn't assume it to see with a Nocturne Camille Galio because it can't catch it, but the lane, of course, is very strong there, so it does at least weaken that 2v2 down bot lane, which again I think is going to be quite separate, to be honest, to that top side for VKS. So for this, the crux of it, I think you've just touched on there, RMC, is I think Ayu needs to be the guy. I think Ayu needs to be the difference maker. He had a very good Senna game, and he had a decent Corki game considering. Now Morteus has gone for the Jinx blind. Let's see what the answer is going to be.
And I'm terrified, Trajan. I've been preaching Jinx as a very strong AD carry in the current meta. We saw it at MSI just carrying a ton of games. And for VKS to kind of pick this, it's because they have so much global pressure. If Jinx is ever in trouble, the Galio comes down, the Nocturne comes down. It's a huge threat. Please, I don't do this!
We're back to Jinx Aphelios, baby. And this is into Nocturne, into Camille, into Galio. Now, is there a better stand and fight AD carry than Aphelios, I ask you?
No, if Aphelios could actually reach the enemy AD carry. We used to see a lot of Jinx Aphelios, but Jinx was the favorite side of the matchup. She outranges Aphelios.
He will not be auto-attacking Jinx this game. He will be auto-attacking Nocturne Camille this game. That is his job. I think potentially Gigo and Tatu will be on Jinx duty. Maybe just Gigo, to be honest. And then Ayu is going to be drop it. Ult me right now.
Yeah.
I've got Tom. I've got red white guns. Do it, please do it.
Oh my goodness. And Kate, I love this. We're talking about JoJo with Enchanters. Trimby, original Enchanter player, even way back in EU as well. And if the Melio does come through, I actually think it wasn't quite locked in. Okay, Thresh.
Okay. Pivot.
Okay. I like the Melio better. I like the extended range you give Jinx, and at that point, you just cannot reach her. And if Gigo tries to go diving backline, just give a fire kick from Melio and kind of boot him out of there. Instead, you've got the Thresh, which I think is a more traditional pick, the Death Sentence to be able to kind of kick things off, but you've also got the Dark Passage to drag Jinx back out to safety, make sure she can play a lot from range. But I'm really liking what Cade is putting down, Trajan, with their composition. You know, we talked about the top side, just the synergy it has innately, the scaling and the ability for Jinx to come back even when we're down 4,000 or 5,000 gold. Compare that to Furia, and I like Tahm Kench Aphelios as a duo. But I think while you're devoured, while you're safe, you're not pumping out damage. If you're not pumping out damage, your top side's absolutely just going to get melted by this Jinx. So I have a lot of fear with this Furia composition. It feels like they do need to individually outperform in order to make it work.
Yeah, it's again another tall order for Furia, and now game 2 was an improvement, but the early game was not. The early game was actually worse, I think, in game number 2, to be honest. So they need to solve this part of the game. We need to get this under control. We need to control Miryu. He's on Galio. This is not a stompy champion. You at least shouldn't have to worry about Miryu completely outperforming the 1v1. Top lane is going to be interesting, because obviously Camille is good into Cassante, but not early on. Camille is not a strong early laning champion. Cassante should be able to be comfortable there, but it quickly sort of swaps the other way. So this early game might be a chance for Furia to at least have solider lanes, and then we need to, like I said, I think we need to get IU rolling here, and we need to see him cook this game a little bit.
Well, funnily enough, there is a graphic we have about sort of the damage distributions and who the carries on the team are, Trajan. And if we could get the graphic up, I'd love to quickly discuss it, because of also, you talk about the fact that, you know, Miryu is on a Galio, not a carry. Well, look at who's the big carry on Cade Stars. It's Miryu. He outdamages even Morteus normally. And in the top side, we've got Cassante, not a carry, into Camille, who is a carry. And guess who the big carry for Furia is? It's Gigo. So this game kind of just inverts all the normal expectations between both of these teams and puts all the weight kind of down at the bot side between the 80 carries, where you can see IU and Morteus in terms of damage are usually incredibly evenly matched. So we'll have to keep an eye on that bot side, especially as this game progresses.
Yeah, this is the joy of Fearless. It does force the teams to contort into unknown shapes, and that is the proof, I think, of real quality in this format, in this rule set of League of Legends. As we head on to the Rift for game number 3, everybody, VKS looking to turn last week's 1-2 into a swift 3-0 clapback, as Furia, it's time to show that quality. Defending Split 2 champions, international representatives. Let's see a little bit more of that. Let's bring the fight back to VKS. We got plenty of time today. We're not going anywhere. I'd love to see some more games.
Yeah, I'd love to not go anywhere, Trajan, but that's kind of up to Furia to bite back a little bit. And, you know, speaking of early leads, Trajan, I don't know, Kate already off to a 20 goal advantage. They took out that ward, that's all I'm saying.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a huge start right now. Desamis rolling, and we have to look for that first, those first couple of paranoias at level 6 and 7 for Desamis to see how that goes. Miryu, of course, with the Galio will want to be following up on that, but the cooldown on Galio is absolutely gigantic at level 1. You have to pick your moment very, very carefully, or you won't be able to use it again. So we need to see VKS pick their moments very well, whereas Tuts is going to be happy enough to, like say, just scale up, look for those 2 items, be sort of inflappable in the mid lane. And then Tattoo, of course, probably the best performer for Furia today, certainly in game number 2, was putting on a kind of player of the game level performance. Couldn't get the win there on the Viego. He's going to want to repeat that and start stacking the kills up.
Yeah, and if you wanted a champion that could 1v5 and carry your team as the best player on your team, you'd probably pick Yone. But barring that, because it's not a jungler, Tatu's probably found the best jungler to do it, which is Viego.
Yeah, pretty much.
And if he gets rolling, he doesn't even need his team at that point to kind of set him up for those multiple resets as well. But it's such a big if. And Trajan, you're talking about for Cade Stars, their compositions, a lot of big ultimates, a lot of choosing your moments. To be fair to them, in game 2, where they struggled with wasn't picking their moments. They were picking their moments incredibly well, and props to Bowl especially for that on the Mbessa. The problem for them was that they were getting picked in between those moments. So if it comes down to just picking your moments, I actually think as a Cade fan, you'd be pretty comfortable here in this game 3.
Yeah. Pretty much. Like, the way they've been able to, especially after the game 2 seemed to kind of go completely awry, and they were making, to be fair, some pretty big mistakes and throwing massive gold leads, they didn't crumble either. They didn't fall apart. They got right back on the horse, and they were able to find winning situations later on. So BKS have shown, you know, just as much, if not more, resilience than Furia so far in this series to secure those 2 wins. And that's got to be what you want to see, especially after the disappointing end to split number 2. BKS fans, they love this change in the mid lane, and they could be on the cusp of making a real deep inroad into playoffs if they win this series.
It's kind of funny. We're talking about this series a lot, but one thing we should remember too is that this is the upper bracket of the elimination phase. The elimination phase does mean that teams will get dropped, but the upper teams have a second life. So they're starting in an upper bracket. So the loser of this series is not out of the elimination phase yet. It just means that they have to play through the lower side of the bracket. Meanwhile, the winner of this would move on to what would normally be considered sort of the winners finals of a normal playoffs, but elimination phase, it just puts you really, really comfortably close to that at least guaranteed spot at the LTA regional championship, where the South will play against the North. Top 3 teams from both sides will be facing off.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, if we're looking forward to try and talk about quality, people speak of the LTA North as a 2-team region right now. 3 teams go from each side, so there could be some very, very tough matchups. Furia, of course, has taken already an international victory over one of those 2 teams. That is part of the 2-team region that's LTA North. So Furia can do it. VKS are looking revitalized right now. Pain and Red are certainly still threatening on their side of the bracket as well. So the LTA South is stacking up a kind of a rogues gallery of threats right now, and it's almost impossible to say who those 3 teams are going to be right now, especially with this potential upset on the cards.
Yeah, like we were talking about, the fact that now like Red's pulled an upset. If Cade can pull a 3-0, that's a pretty big upset, and it'd be such a decisive statement from Cade as well. Not just that they beat the former champions, the split 2 reigning champions, but they did it 3-0. They smashed Furia. So if they can do that, it's going to do wonders for the publicity. It's going to do wonders for the confidence of the players as well as the staff, and just how they're going to be able to kind of pull through. And it's good to see them kind of connect, because to be fair, I actually think this particular roster from Cade with with Trimby coming in, with Miru coming in. Heck, even when they were with Kissy, I didn't feel like this roster quite clicked the way they did last year with the Gigo, Smiley, Pro Delta roster. So if it can really click, this is the critical time. Like, it doesn't matter what happened in pick and play if you're popping off now in the elimination phase and later on in the regional championships.
Yeah, this is what you want, right? This is what you want to do. Furia chose this matchup, or rather, I guess they were given this matchup by Red, but I think I'm sure they'd be happy with it as now. Here comes the combo. They've got level 6, and all 3 of them land on Gigo's head. He's tried to flash to safety. He is at least going to demand that they chase him just a little further. It is first blood for Desamis, first paranoia achieved.
A lot of flashes expended from both sides, but 100% worth it. We love to see globals being used immediately. Miru shoving that wave mid as hard as he can in order to proc that level 6 and just went dog piling. And really well played from Gigo as well. He actually buffered up the knockup and the stun, so he was able to run as far as he could, but he was just too far up. Now, Desamis is not 6 yet, so they could actually look for a repeat gank. One of the globals was used, but the other one is still on the table. The gank from Desamis was him just walking up in a bush because Gigo was overpushed. Yeah, and Gigo just pushed out way too far with no wards. There's no vision here whatsoever.
Yeah, it's kind of the Tuts moment from game number 1, whereas he's like, I'm going to check the brush in case there's an enemy in there. There's already an enemy in there, and now I put myself in melee range. Whoopsie-doo, I'm dead. Unfortunate. So Gigo, sadly going to go down early, and Bo, on that matchup that is going to start turning in his favor, now has a little gold lead to play with.
Yeah, and I can't help but just think back to the damage graph that we were talking about right before we loaded on. If Gigo starts to fall behind, I'm worried. Tuts initially was winning out his lane as well, but now it's kind of evened out. And in this top side, between Ayu and Morteus, Ayu's winning out early, as expected, but Paranoia comes down.
Here's the first Paranoia, and there comes the fear. Ayu has been taken away. Perhaps Furia made the same mistake I did and assumed it was used in bot lane. Yep. And Ayu just has nowhere to go. Holds the flash because it wouldn't have saved him.
And now Mortea is able to kind of equalize that lane. Jinx, again, the better side of the scaling matchup, not because of the damage that she can put out, though Jinx damage does get pretty disgusting with scaling, but just because of the range. And trying to accelerate this Jinx, give her items, is just going to play merry hell with this Tom Kench and this Aphelios as well. Trimby and Jojo, just in a bit of supportal combat, nothing too serious. Both their AD carries have wandered away, so it's kind of like 2 kids in the sandbox.
Yeah, Fury just, Jojo just cancelling the recall, I think, slows Trimby down just a hair. Gives Tatu time to get onto those grubs on spawn. Now Dasamus with no flash, no ult. Unlikely to try and contest this one. Tatu's got everything to offer to a play if it appears. Trimby's got some vision down, going to try and steal one away, but Tatu's not going to be falling for that one. And it will be again. I think this is going to be a 9. Ooh, Jinx ult takes one. There it is. Lovely timing by Morteus. So it's going to have to settle for 2 for 1.
I feel like we haven't seen that in a hot minute, the rocket snipes, because they nerfed and capped how much damage Jinx's rockets actually do to objectives to splash damage, so we don't see the steals come through quite as frequently. But Morteus, timed to perfection. I was a little bit concerned at first because Trimby, looking for that hook, it got blocked by the void spawns that get spawned by grubs. Like, it wasn't anything Tatu did, it was just the timing of it kind of backfired. But Morteus able to salvage that, snipe one away. The monster slaying feat, like the counter still goes Furia's way. But at least Kate stopped Grubageddon from coming through on the side of Furia.
Yeah. It was going to be a 9-0 grub score over an 0-3 game score, kind of hilariously, for Furia, sadly. Especially as they so consistently play for that objective, and they were, I believe they're still in control of more dragons, I guess, probably over the course of the series as well. They've been picking up a lot of early game objectives. They've been falling behind a little bit. They've been getting picked, they've been giving away kills, but the objectives have been theirs, generally speaking, today.
Yeah, it's kind of an interesting sort of discussion to be had, where traditionally the prevailing thought has been objectives win you games. Kills facilitate objectives, which facilitate structures to get you the Nexus. But it does feel like, especially this year, with the focus on team fighting becoming the predominant way the game gets played, early gold actually feels like it matters more than getting these objectives. You can easily sack 2 dragons. If you get like a 2k gold lead off of that, then you just win the later fights anyways, and the later dragons just become a place for you to actually team fight, win team fights, accelerate your gold, and get turrets more than it is about the actual dragons themselves.
That's getting aggressed on. The second paranoia gonna land true as well. Feat of I forget what the feat of kills, I suppose warfare. We can simply call it here. Feat of warfare, sorry. Knocked up for VKS. Now that we're just kind of every time Dasamus is near a lane, now with ult as well, there seems to be a Furia member who's pushed up without vision. It seems like we're just not respecting the Nocturne right now.
Yeah, and Trajan, to be fair, warfare suggests that there's a fight. There's no fight here. Like, Dasamus just shows up, Miru just shows up, and it's just dead bodies dropping for Furia. We talk about Furia needing to kind of fix their early game. They're not throwing the early game, but they're also not doing anything in this early game. And Furia is just running them over. K-Stars is running Furia over, and Furia is just lying down and taking it. And that's not okay. 1.4 thousand gold lead. How is Furia looking to play this game right now?
It's a bit of a question mark paying for Furia, to be honest. We've once again given over a more than 1,000 gold lead in the first 10 to 12 minutes. As VKS have just the most cut and dry tools for pushing that advantage you could want for. This top side is geared to just see an enemy, dive on top of them, and keep that lead growing. Furia are gonna need to have their head on a swivel for the next few minutes. They cannot let this get out of control again. They've got no more lives in this match.
Tasu now seeing Dasamus, who was thinking about Dragon, not really want to commit to that. They have to remember that it was Paranoia used. Hero's Entrance still available. The desync on these globals have been really nice for Cade, so they always have extra coverage. And now maybe starting to win against Tuts as well.
Well, the ult comes down from Thresh as well. Jojo, of course, has a bit of thick skin to step away with that one that supports trade, but Furia comes away a little worse. I guess they get the ultimate out of Thresh at least. When they know the Paranoia is down, they're clearly trying to bait VKS into a fight that they won't have the advantage for, but K-Stars are having none of it. They are not getting dragged in.
Yeah, and keep in mind as well for Jojo, trading an ultimate for Jojo's health is kind of worth it, because with the Tahm Kench, his health is directly safety for his AD carry. If Jojo is half health when the fight starts, even if he devours IU to safety, if Jojo gets melted, IU will also be exposed. So that's why Cade is willing to kind of burn that onto this Tahm Kench pre-fight to set up for a potential team fight.
It's now returning to top side, still even in CS, but a little bit down as the plates go over to Miryu. Completed his first item as well, but Tuts, of course, still waiting for that scaling to come through. He's got the tier stacking up. He now has the Rod of Ages, but we need to see him complete that Seraphs before we're really going to see The Rise start to have leverage in these fights. The Samus now returning to the Dragon with the map state the way it is. There will be no contest. And that first objective goes over to VKS down in the bot river. Tatu instead going to steal away some camps. So Furia still unable to really find an angle here. And their comp does not lend itself to playmaking, really. It's a lot of disengage. It's a lot of, potential re-engage. But they don't really have hit compositions necessarily. As Miryu flashes over, in comes another ultimate from the Nocturne, but a timely time. Kench will not save him, saves the jungle, but Jojo falls down to a lovely timed Morteus rocket once again, as Tuts flees from Miryu in topside.
Trajan, when I was looking at this comp, I was just thinking, okay, Nocturne, global, Galio, global. But Morteus' global is just adding insult to injury at this point. It's salt in the wound, and he's picking up the kills as well. So that's one grub sniped with the rocket, one kill secured with the rocket, and Morteus just accelerating. Tuts might be in a bit of trouble, has flash available, but the damage from Miryu is good right now.
Yeah, he's got the ult ready, and Tatu's there, and actually Gigo's committed the ult onto Bowl, maybe out of pure desperation, flashes away to use some vision, but Bowl finds it in topside. Tatu gets the comeback, so Furia finally on the board, but it's one kill across the map.
Yeah, and it just feels like when Tuts is finally able to find something with the help of Tatu, Gigo, the traditional carry for Furia, falls apart in the bot lane. And we said this before, Gigo should know this matchup. He often plays the Camille side of this matchup. So he should know, hey, can I actually afford to all in on Bo? And I hope they give us the full replay, because from what we saw, it looked like Gigo was dying and decided to try and turn things around with an all in and just simply did not have enough in the tank. Like, Bo was never at risk of dying in that trade.
This is given pretty big Furia versus Pain vibes, I'll be honest, man. This is like the presumed, I guess, strong. The final boss team is getting completely dismantled. We can see here that the Galio trades onto Rise are just that simple. You can go in and Rise can't pump as much damage back, but you can never really kill him necessarily. And Tatu does get into range to flash in and secure this one with the ultimate. So Miryu even tries to ult out as well and actually dies. So that's unfortunate to drop that cooldown.
Okay, so we do get a replay of how that bot side fight kind of started, and it does look like, yeah, Gigo, out of desperation, used the all out, and I feel like it's almost a little bit too late. The Hextech Ultimatum was about to wear out anyways. If you want to do it, you get behind and then try and force Bull towards your turret. Instead, you end up going away from your turret, and Bull just runs you down. So that's kind of ults wasted from both Gigo and Miryu on the other side in situations where they wouldn't be able to get out. Back to the objective, and Trajan, once again, Kate with a lead. Just do not give a crap about these objectives.
Well, I think they might be able to look for an angle afterwards. The Samus has an ult-ready hook from Trimby lands onto Tuts, but no one will secure. They can maybe see that Ayu's got red and white guns, and they don't want to dive into a choke point against that one. Meanwhile, if you check on bot side, no need. They're getting an inner turret. The gold lead keeps on growing.
Fair enough, and I guess that's why Kate didn't bother with the Herald. Why take the Herald when we can guarantee ourselves a very early inner turret, by the way? We are at 15 minutes, Trajan, now cresting 16. And that's an inner turret gone. Bo is so incredibly accelerated. You can see richest guy on the map with that second turret going down. And who's second richest? Morteus. VKS is now set up for both team fights potentially, as well as massive split push pressure. Who's answering Bo on a split push right now?
Yeah, no one really wants that task. Now Bo is the carry in the side lane. Miryu happy to stand aside and is still getting good value as Gigo drops below half HP. A simple hook from Trimby does the job, and the Galio damage still ticking away at a full armor Cassante. This is looking a bit hopeless up here.
And the hopelessness up there is leading to comedy in the bot side, because while all that was happening, Bo was pushing. If there was an inner turret, Bo would have taken it, but he already took it. And right now, I think Kate actually needs to kind of revise where they are on the map. They need to send Bo into the top lane, and Fury needs to start pressuring either Kate needs to pressure either the mid lane or the bot lane as 4, so that they can buy space for Bo to take more turrets and accelerate the game. They can't let Bo push the bot side anymore. It's way too far up for him to comfortably, safely do that. And it's just also going to take a lot longer for him to take an inhibitor turret. An inhibitor turret, Trajan. He's thinking about that pre-20 minutes.
Yeah, a bit of a disaster once again, but Furia, they did manage to scrap their way back into an even position from a similar state last game. Whether they can do the same here is another question. They don't have the same playmaking from Tatu that was instrumental to that success or that potential comeback last time. Now it's just going to be all about how they deal with the VKS aggression. Can they stop leaving the door open? Can they prevent objectives snowballing away for VKS into an early soul, into an Atakan the Baron? Fury have been able to bite back in these ways so far today, but that has been it. The individual fights, the plays, the mechanics, the 1v1s, these have been all about VKS so far.
And that's terrifying when we look at Furia's composition, because they don't excel in team fighting, so they kind of had to rely on 1v1s, and they're not winning them. So,
nope.
Yeah, where do you kind of go from here? And we talked about how IU and Tatu feel like they've been the best performers for this team so far. Okay, to be fair, IU, Jojo, and Tatu. But IU doesn't, like, between the three of them this game, they don't have initiation. Like, who's going in first? Jojo needs to step back and peel for IU. IU, if he throws himself in, he's going to die. And Tatu's not fed enough that he can just pop people on the engage, and he's kind of squishy. And heck, even looking at Gigo and Tuts right now, who's really looking to engage from there?
Whatever happened to the IU Yasuo, man? How can we get that one out? That's
well, they've been permabanning Varus.
Oh, Tatu's got to ult defensively. If Dasamas can get into range, everybody from VKS is ready to follow it up. They've got the lockdown. Hook lands from Trimby. In comes the follow-up. Miryu doesn't even need to use the ult to get there. He's got the taunt ready. Tuts is dead.
Excited.
Jojo to follow. Furia are getting melted in topside. We saw it coming, and IU can only stand by. Drops a big ultimate, but it cannot find the kills. 3 dead for Furia, and another play goes wrong.
I was just watching Morteus chase down Gigo, and for a second it felt like a dystopian world where it's just raining literal rockets coming down, and boom!
Oh, Gigo, the ultimate! There's a splash damage, and IU's in melee range. Now he gets away from the hook. The sole hero, who has to be the hyper carry for Furia, is the last one left alive. He can't get any kills. Can't get any assists. The time is running out. 6k now the lead. Pre-20 minutes for K-Stars.
And they had the camera on IU just as the team went down, and you could see the deadness in his eyes, knowing that this is done. I can't do anything. And I've got a question, Furia, on this play. Why are we pushed up so far? If you're gonna make this play, either you commit to it and take the turret, or you get your whole team ready. Think of how many globals the opposing team has, and you saw the paranoia come through. You saw the hero's entrance just come right across. And for Fury, you just don't have the numbers to be pushing up like that, making this sort of play. Now, this is just icing on the cake from Gate, because they're so strong, they're able to just chase down there. And if you're Furia, when you're getting chased down like this, we question who's gonna make the plays. But the real question now isn't even who's making plays for Fury. It's how do you stop? How do you survive when Kate decides that they want to make a play? Your turrets are not safe anymore.
It is looking a little bit tragic for Furia. Options shrinking, no playmaking tools available to them. All they can do is sit and wait for VKS to decide when it's time for them to die. And if they can stand and fast and fight it back, then all power to them. But the tools are just slipping away. The gold has already slipped away, and VKS have the entire run of the map.
6,000 gold lead at 21 minutes. Is this the biggest gold lead we've had at 20 minutes during this series so far?
Oh, it might be. I think it is, actually, because I think VKS didn't get up to the 6k until later last time. He's found Morteus, but there's a Thresh, there's a Galio, a couple ults, a couple buttons pressed, and Tatu can do no more. But another hook from Trimby nails Gigo on the rotation. Trimby's Thresh has been hitting hook after hook today. Morteus is just standing in front of them 1v4 with Bo looking for a flank.
And just reminding everybody as well why Thresh was sort of the OG pairing with Jinx. It's not just him landing the hooks every single time. It's the way Morteus is following out with the Chompers, not necessarily just to guarantee the stun of the hook into Chompers, but in that position, for example, just cutting off Gigo, making sure that you don't have a way out of that situation and we can actually maximize the CC. We don't need you stunned, we just need you unable to run away. And now Kate multitasking with an inner turret take on the top side while simultaneously taking Atakan. And Furia, they are trying to answer the bot lane. That's the best option they have. I don't even know if Tuts can actually get this before Kate respawn. They've got double teleports available, and Miryu with Hero's Entrance, he can use the teleport to cover and still have Hero's Entrance to join the team in a minute or so.
Furia TPing, or not Furia, I should say. VKS TPing in as Jojo and Tatu a little bit out of position right here. The quick, fast rotations. They've got the taunt. Bowl can lock him down. And he completely decapitates him. 2 items approaching 3 for Bowl's Camille. And it is a stunner game from him. Games 1 and 2 had their ups and downs, but game 3 has been all W's all day for the VKS top line.
Yeah, we've still only got the 1 kill from Tatu from the topside pick. Besides that, absolutely nothing from Furia. And it reflects in the score, in the gameplay. From Furia as a whole, the only person I've seen kind of make these proactive moves was Tatu. And even then, he hopped over a wall, almost got himself taken out, and had to just kind of run back. That gold graph is, yep, that's the entire story right there. Some early objectives for Furia, and that's it.
Oh, Trimby, could you miss a hook for once, please? Forces the eat out of Jojo, but another one onto the Tam. He has to escape. And the pressure is just immutable for VKS. Trimby always hitting the hooks. VKS always ready to follow it up as the base turrets are starting to crack. Inhib exposed at 23 minutes.
And that mid inhib is bait for Fury. You don't have a turret there. You're not going to win a fight. If you try and defend it, Cade will get the kills and potentially look to end the game of that sort of fight. Cade, though, they're going to play this slow. They've been playing the map really, really well with all the advantage they have. They've got so much pressure in the side lanes. So they're going to fall back, get that dragon, look for the recall. I don't even think we're going to get to Soul necessarily. They can just go back with a steady 4-1 split push and just collapse mid anytime they see an opportunity from Furia.
That's just trying to get what farm he can. It has been essentially a silent affair for the Furia mid laner today. Barely able to get any purchase. 1 triple kill in game 2, and that's about it. That gulf that we saw opening up in mid lane last week has just only seemed to widen in that interim period. And now the rest of the map's looking kind of similar. We can't even rely on top and bot lane. The carry check, we're showing no carries for Furia. We're checking for carries, RMC. I don't see any.
Yeah, it's such a wild thought that, was it just last split? We were talking about with the retirement of Tinones after split 1, that Brazil or the South, Brazil specifically feels like they don't necessarily have mid laners who can take up the role. And then we've got Kaze coming in from the LLA, again, not necessarily Brazilian. We've got Miryu coming in also, from Korea, but LLA sided as well. And suddenly we've got an influx of all these carry mid laners. And like I said, this last 2 weeks in particular, Kaze just absolutely crushing Roamer was a huge part of why Red won. And now Miryu crushing Tuts, a huge part of why Cade has dominated this series. Is it the time of mid laners here in the LTA South, Trajan?
Yeah, we've been waxing lyrical over bot laners for enough splits now. The mid laners deserve some love as well. VKS taking up an aggressive position in the topside jungle as the Baron completely pitch black for Furia. They don't have the vision to go in. They certainly don't have the gold to make a play of this. They're almost 10k down. But what choice do they have? They can't let the game just slip through their fingers. Tatu tries to make a desperate effort. Finally a hook from Trimby misses. Out comes the ultimate. The paranoia turns off the lights once again. The Baron's already down. Boom! Now goes in.
What?
Slices off the Viego, and Gigo with a last ditch effort. Ayu now caught. Cleanses, flashes, tries to get back to safety. 2 kills down. Bowl continuing the chase. Miryu quickly dodged out by an eat from Jojo, but again it's just a delaying tactic. Ayu still on the run. VKS, they're taking some damage, but they've got one more target to knock down in Tuts. Baron is already on the board, and again it's Ayu watching helplessly as the game slips away.
Sorry, Super Rookie? Future of the LTA South? who? K-Stars just instantly popped him a single catch, and he's just melted. And Ayu, once again, the only one limping well with Jojo. So the bot lane is the only one kind of limping away. And we get to kind of see the replay of this. What wasn't shown here was Tuts' Realm Warp actually getting cancelled. And that's why Tatu is as far up as he is, hoping, thinking, praying for some sort of way to get in the steal, but he doesn't get it. Baron's gone, and Kate immediately turned the rundown as well. Props to Jojo for the Devour, and Ayu just kind of creating all that space. They do a lot of damage, but not enough to kill any one member of Cade, and like that, Cade just keep the kill count still down to only 1 for Furia.
Absolutely. This is surely, we are knocking on the doors of that 3-0 that we didn't think was possible coming into the day, but VKS have completely shattered the expectations. Their journey to redemption, returning to the 2nd place finish that they peaked in 2024 that seemed a lifetime away after Split 1 and Split 2. Now they're coming in, putting games together like this, treating Furia with such disdain in this best of 5 as the inhibs are starting to crack under the pressure of the Baron waves.
And deservedly so. You know, they came into game one, I think, being very, very respectful. In game two, they had a hard-fought fight. But in game three, after winning the first two games, they can afford to stay in. They know that they're the better teams. They've played from behind. They've played from ahead. And I think their draft was much more cohesive, much more executable.
Gigo again pulled in. Jojo has to
Argon,
burn it
though.
on the Cassante. Ayu left on the
Ayu!
front line, slowed, barely away,
this
but
time!
sniped by the zap from Morteus. VKS need no more encouraging. Diving past the turrets, and this series is just over. It's another 28-minute slammer. VKS batter Furia down to the lower bracket and will advance to the next round.
Oh, Maroon Bull, you know, deservedly happy. Desamis 3-0. Yep, just that easy. Desamis, another jungler, you know, who feels like he never quite got the praise or plaudits that he deserved. And today, he bothered Tatu kind of in this matchup. Desamis was key in every single game. In game three, let's not forget how this game started with the kill coming down from Desamis, hiding in that bush, punishing Gigo for stepping up. The paranoias that came through from Desamis, spot on every time and getting pressure. And Trajan, I do believe Lunar mentioned in chat, and sounds about right, that the winner of this match, of this match and tomorrow's match, one of these teams are pretty much guaranteed to be in that top side because of the way the bracket flows, right? Once you're in that winner's side of the bracket, or winner's finals, if you will, of the elimination phase, you pretty much lock in, a shoe in for that top three spot. So a win right here for Cade, absolutely massive. Even if they don't necessarily win the elimination phase, it doesn't matter. Elimination phase isn't a trophy. Trophy is regional championships. And if CL wants to deliver a trophy, why not make it a big one?
Yeah, the biggest one of all. Why not win 2 leagues at once? You know, if while you're at it, you want to just go straight to the top right there. Stunning performance by VKS, and almost, you know, every single member was stepping up right here. Morteus was maybe just by virtue of being the AD carry on a team with a lot of activity on the other side of the map, didn't feel like he had to do the most heavy lifting, but he was like, what, 7-0 or something on Jinx by the end of that game. He was absolutely no notes for Morteus today. The quietest, but certainly not a problem. Everyone else was getting stuck in, and I have to give special credence to Bowl in top lane.
Yes.
As the most consistent, persistent, certified Bowl hater on this broadcast, I hold my hands up. What a series. Great stuff from Bowl. Even when the lanes didn't go well, it was either planned to be that way, or he was still valuable later on and still made it count when it was important. So, you know, props to him. And if we're gonna lift the Bowl cap, if we're gonna lift the Bowl anchor, as it were, now where does the VKS ceiling? It's certainly higher than it was a week ago. You know what I mean?
Yeah, especially when you consider sort of the top laners left or up in this upper bracket, right? It was Gigo, Weiser, FNB, and Bowl. And Bowl is the one we all had the most questions about. And if he's able to perform against Gigo, who arguably has the highest skill ceiling among the likes of Weiser and FNB as well, then I think Bowl and K-Stars, by extension, is in a wonderful position, and they're going to feel a lot more confident going through. But their next opponent will be the winner of Pain versus Red. And that one's going to be another very interesting one to come through as well, because that's another set of polar opposites, right? Pain, sort of the rock-steady team. If they're not first, they're second, or arguably, if they're not second, they're first. And then on the other side, you've got Red, who's just seemingly come out of nowhere in a very VK-esque style, where they made some replacements, brought on some rookies, Kaze coming in for them, Rabello coming in for them, and they've just absolutely popped off and just started rolling. They just 2-0 Pain, pardon me, last week in very similar fashion to the way Kate Stars just 3-0 Furia. So tomorrow's game is going to be very, very interesting, and Kate going to be watching with eagle eyes to try and figure out who their opponents are going to be.
Yeah, if we go from the assumed Pain Furia dynasty into VKS Red winners finals, both potentially qualifying there into the international or the cross-conference play, I should say, certainly wouldn't have been on many people's bingo card, that's for sure, but we love to see it. We love that the region keeps on growing, keeps it fresh. We don't settle into patterns anymore here. We've had one split for Pain. You get one for IE, you get one for Furia, and now we're just going to bring new people at every split. Why not? Everyone gets a championship, but they're all looking like threats. That's the thing. They're all looking like credible threats at this point. Over half the region almost looks like a credible threat. This is crazy stuff, and we love to see it.
Yeah, but that's, I think, it for today, Trajan. You know, it was unfortunately not the 5 games we had hoped. You know, I was hoping to stick around longer, watch a little bit more. But thankfully, like we said, Furia is not out of it yet. They just fall to the lower bracket. We will get to see them again.
Yeah, absolutely. We can't wait to see more games. We'll be back here, everybody, tomorrow, same time for Red versus Pain. You do not want to miss it. For now, it's going to be myself, Trajan, and RMC signing off. Thank you, Dia, for production, for stepping in. V mixing it up without any problems. Absolutely. Props to you, my friend. Thank you, everybody, for watching. We'll see you back here tomorrow for the next round in the playoffs. Peace.